Paul Weel is joining us, the Gypsy Tales Podcast, mate. This one's been a long time coming, but I think we've nailed the timing.
Oh, perfect timing, mate. Perfect. You hear figures, what they're spending, and it's anywhere from $3 to $5 million US a year to go and do 4 races. Brian Deegan rode for us.
What was your memory of dealing with him back then?
I think he might have been only 18 or something.
He would have been super young.
And wild. Toby and I get these guys that we race against in Australia, and they're like, we want to come over, and we're like, well, why don't you come over and do it? We're the only guys that had the balls to come here and race. In 2008, I had the big crash at Bathurst where I got hit.
You didn't get hit.
I got nailed.
You got
drilled.
Smashed.
Yes. And I was very, very fortunate to live in that. I split my spleen, broke my L1 to L5, and punctured arm.
I'm always excited to partner with great brands that I personally use. Quadlock has a wide array of products that integrate seamlessly into every facet of my daily life, whether at the office, en route to my next adventure, or during the adventure itself. Quadlock makes it easy to keep my essentials charged, secure, and in reach. Recently, I've been using the handlebar mount for my phone alongside the new Action Cam mount. The Action Cam mount takes away the fuss of tightening screws and gives you that simple Quadlock quarter turn, making installation and removal of your Action Cam quick and easy. On my last adventure ride across Vietnam, I even crashed the bike and a Quadlock mount kept my phone secure. Quadlock's vibrating dampener is a must-have with smartphone applications to protect your camera's internals from harmful vibrations. Quadlock is designed for any day, any adventure. Go to quadlockcase.com to find your specific application or use the 360 kit builder to discover how interchangeable all these mounts can be. And use the code GYPSYGANG for 10% off your purchase and elevate your next adventure with Quadlock.
I met a gypsy.
Got you there, mate?
Yeah, mate.
Paul Weel is joining us for the Gypsy Tales Podcast, mate. This one's been a long time coming, but I think we've nailed the timing.
Oh, perfect timing, mate. Perfect.
I think we might have a couple of JDs on the way too. So
Sounds good, mate.
Just set for a good arvo.
Oh, exactly. It'll be nice to fly out with a couple of JTs.
Yeah, you'll just be ready, just back to Oz.
That's it, back home.
With a bit of podium hardware.
Yes, a little bit of podium hardware from the Baja 400 on the weekend. So she was a tough race.
Yeah, so third this weekend, coming off the win at the 500.
Yep.
So full head of steam, but flat tire maybe. Kind of hampered the progress.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was if you go back 12 months ago or even 18 months ago, we would have been happy just to finish a race.
Yeah.
We never finished a race. And for 500 winning, and then to finish third and be right in the race of a 400, it was sort of a little bit of not a letdown, but it was like, oh, yeah, you know. But third,
the goalpost move as you guys progress.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, as we all know in motorsport or any type of sport, the better you go, the goals rise. Yeah. And, look, third in that field at that race in Mexico is pretty good. Yeah.
So how many years have you been having a crack at the truck stuff now for Team Australia?
So it's been exactly 2 years. 2 years ago was our first race at the Baja 400.
Dude, it feels longer.
Yeah, it does feel longer. We went and raced the 400 in 22.
Yeah.
And then we raced 1,000 in 22, and that's when we burnt the truck down.
Yeah.
The brand new truck that we bought.
Yeah.
And it does. Like last year felt like a really long year because it was just a shit year.
Yeah.
We didn't finish a race. We broke every time. I didn't hop in the car at all in a race until 1,000 last year.
Wow. Oh, what's that?
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Oh.
Just that just looks like a cold brew.
Hang on. Whoop, no, it's not.
That's nitro, but the different kind.
Yes.
There'll probably be cups out in that kitchen, Matty. Yeah, dude, that's crazy that you just didn't even get to race. You've got millions and millions of dollars worth of racing equipment and you didn't get to race.
Yeah, I didn't get to race. And, Toby got to drive the truck a lot.
Yeah.
But you know, it was just
Old
one
sex fingers.
Yeah. Oh, mate. He'd just break it every time. Unbelievable he was.
So then this year, was it this year with the 500 win earlier this year, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are slowly starting to get some momentum.
Yeah.
And then you get redemption for the truck burning down. It's been an eventful couple of years.
Yeah, it has been. It's been, it's actually been really tough because you sort of start to doubt yourself of, you know, are we doing the right thing here? You know, we're spending millions and millions of dollars and, you know, we're going backwards. And the more money we spent, the worse.
The worse you did.
Worse we did. And then we just, you know, we made a lot of changes coming into this year. You know, the Mason Motorsport truck that we have, we took that in-house to Mason Motorsport, and Robert Mason, who's one of the co-owners there, prepped the truck. And then we made a lot of changes externally as well. We're bringing in different people to actually help us run the program.
Yeah.
And, you know, then Menzies Motorsports doing all the pits for us. And so Bryce Menzies.
Thanks for coffee, Matt.
And
cheers.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Nice cuppa.
Yeah, bloody beautiful drop.
Mm.
Haven't had one of them in a while.
So yeah, we changed a lot of things going into this year.
Beauty.
It was we're spending more money than we've spent again, but we're getting results now. So for that, it's making a big difference. You know, I think everyone knew how quick we were.
That's probably the thing that saved you.
Yes.
Because you were going so fast every single time.
Yeah.
So there had to have been a belief that you guys could do it.
Yeah.
If.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing. We knew within ourselves that we were quick. You know, Toby's quick. We don't know Toby's quick.
Yeah.
And we knew in ourselves that we could do it if we had everything in the right spot. We could actually perform. And, you know, at the start of this year, we ran at San Felipe, which is the first race.
Yeah.
And we broke leading, I think it was like 15 miles from the finish. And
who was driving?
Toby. Yeah. So
have you broke the car yet?
No, I haven't. No.
But it burnt down when you were in it, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. It's sort of different. You know, burning, breaking. Yeah. Anyway.
So Toby's been the one that's broke the truck.
Yeah. He's hard on the gear.
Yeah.
He's hard on the gear. No, it's So you know we had that at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And then, well, yeah, he beat himself up pretty hard about it because we were in a very good position to actually win, and then to go to the 500, and you know this year they've changed a lot in the in how they do the qualifying at score events. So each race now has a qualifying session. So for us, that's a beauty because we have the one of the best qualifiers I think that's out there who can lay down a lap. And so, 500 he qualified, Tobes qualified first, got the car to me, and we ended up, we won by 9 minutes or 8 minutes or something like that. So it was really, everything went right.
Yeah.
And then, this last race at the 400, Toby absolutely nailed him again in qualifying. So it
was like 5 seconds, eh?
5 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was really good. But the 400 was so rough. And it was just, it was a tough race.
Is it a different course every time that you do it, or like sections similar?
Sections are similar. So over the 500 and the 400 and the 1,000, you run similar sections.
Yeah.
You might run parts of each race in one of them. But this year, the 500 was backwards. 400 was backwards.
Yeah.
So, I've usually only just done sort of the coast sections at the races. And so you get to know them pretty well.
Yeah.
And then this race, I actually done the north section away from the coast, up in the hills. And I actually hadn't done any of that section before. Toby mostly done all that sort of stuff. And so it was flipped around on us a fair bit. And, usually the start of a race is nice and tight and shitty and everything like that. and then the end of the race is really fast and flowing. So it was, opposite this time. And, it was sort of cool that where they finished the race at Rancho Nelson was like a stadium, basically a stadium sort of section.
Yeah.
And so the first 3 cars were all in that section at the same time.
Oh, wow. That would have been sick.
So it was cool to see that. Like for the fans, it would have been cool. It wasn't really that cool for us because of the amount of dust that was in there, the sunlight and everything like that. And the sun was coming down, so it was hitting you straight in my eyes.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do is run off like a mile from home.
People all around.
Yeah, and look like a dick.
Or just run someone over.
Or run someone over or anything like that, you know. We're good at hitting cars and stuff like that. We hit a car on the track class at the 500.
Yeah.
And that was bogged. So, that stuff happens down in Mexico all the time.
So what was the appeal for you to do the trophy truck thing? Like because you've done everything. Like we're going to talk about a bunch of the racing, but this is the focus now, and you guys are going hard at it. What's the appeal?
The appeal for me was, first of all, the first time I actually saw a trophy truck, because I've known about trophy trucks for years and years and years. I rode across the Simpson Desert to go to Fink on a motorbike tour with Daryl Beatty.
No way.
And so I went from Birdsville to Alice.
Great tour that he does.
Great tour.
What's the name of the tour company?
Daryl Beatty Adventures.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If anyone's interested, they should definitely look that up.
For sure. Great stuff. And I've done some stuff up in Cairns and up north, and I know that you've done some stuff up there as well.
Yeah.
And so I rode across with a couple of my mates on the tour, and we were sitting out in front of Autumn Station, which is about 35k from the start at Alice.
Yeah.
And I still got the video. I was showing someone the other day, and I think I sent it to Toby, and I sent him a video and I go, "This is your fault." And it was me videoing him coming through in a trophy truck, and that's the first time I've seen a trophy truck.
What year was that?
That was 2018, I think.
Wow. I was probably out there.
You're probably out there.
Yeah.
So like 2018.
No way.
And then after the race, I said to your brother Matty, I said, "Hey, maybe I should get one of these and da-da-da." And he goes, "Oh, well, I think we're selling this one." And so I bought that truck.
Yeah, that's right.
And then so COVID happened, all that, done one race, and then COVID happened. And then I had a truck that I bought and had it here, a full-size truck. So I thought, well, I'll come and do a couple of races here a year in America, And then COVID happened and that truck sat there. And then Rick Geiser rang me and said, "Hey, do you want to sell that truck?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, who wants to buy it?" And it was for when Ken Block and a couple other guys done the Baja 1000 in 21, I think it was, 21. And because we couldn't come out of the country easily, I was like, "Yeah, no problem, sell it." And so I sold it to them. They went and done it. I think they finished 5th over 1,000. And then I was like 22. I still had I got a new truck built after I sold that one. And I was like, well, I want to race in the States and go and race in Mexico at the Score events. It's the pinnacle of this form of motorsport, the Baja 1000. And I thought, how cool would it be to have an Australian team, compete and try to win? And that was what my goal was, And first of all, when I thought that, well, who do I get? And Toby was right at the top of the list, and I rang his guys to say, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think?" And then rang him, and that's how we started.
Explain to people how good of a driver Toby is, because obviously people probably know Toby mostly from winning Dakars, and if you're Aussie, you know him from being the most winning Fink rider. But man, he can drive.
He can drive. Like he's you look at how good of a motorcycle rider he is. He's just as good as a car driver, really. I see every time I go and I'll watch something that he does or watch in-car or footage and that, and, you know, especially in qualifying is the biggest thing where you can tell. And you look at his in-car footage of how controlled he is on the steering wheel. He's not, you know, soaring on the steering wheel. It's not panicked.
Yeah.
Everything's like in
not
slow
big motions.
Yeah, but everything's in slow motion.
Yeah.
That's how it looks. Probably doesn't feel like that for him, but that's how it looks, you know, watching. And, you know, to be able to, like Baja 400 last year in qualifying, he missed a corner and had to spin it around and still qualified 8 seconds in front of everyone.
That's crazy.
And these guys here
are amazing.
Like they're the best, you know. So his natural ability, which comes, I think, from a bike as well, and especially doing the cross-country rally stuff that he's had done, is coming from being able to read the terrain.
Yeah.
And not read the terrain 100 metres out or whatnot, like 300 or 400 metres up the road, and reading what is there. And, you know, might be tree lines or whatever, and you're going down a hill. So most of the time that means that there's a creek. So what that means is that, you know, there's either going to be a danger or, you know, water, rocks,
drops.
Everything like that. So he's really good at reading the road and reading what's ahead of him. And that's where the biggest advantage I think he has over most people.
Have you spoke to him about it?
No, not really.
Be interesting to know what he's thinking, eh?
Yeah.
Because he is on a crazy level.
The level that he's at in qualifying and then also in a race is amazing. What he's able to do and how, you know, Baja is different to everything, where you don't want to go flat out, okay, and try to win by 10 minutes.
It's a marathon,
15.
not a sprint kind of thing.
But then it's a bit of a game, because what you're trying to do is, if you're in the lead, you're trying to get the guys behind you and back them into each other, and that because of the dust. You know, we spend a lot of time down there pre-running, where we're looking for different lines, advantages, and everything like that. But this race, there was nothing, and so what you're trying to do is back up the guy who was second into the guy who was third, into the guy who was fourth, and so on. So they get into their dust, and then they start getting frustrated, and they start pushing.
Yeah.
And then that's
to try and get through the dust.
Yeah, try to get through the dust, and that's where they hit it. You know, bang a tire and pop a tire. You know, for us, when you're in the lead, you got clear air. It's no dramas, and so you're using, you know, every resource that you have, as in the helicopters. Pick guys on, you know, where you're coming across different sections, and that to time and to give you the gaps. And
so you're not trying to pull away too hard.
You're not trying to pull away. So it gets to a certain amount of time in the race, and then it's like go time.
Yeah.
And so hopefully by then, your guys behind you have had flats, and, you know, have done that once or twice, and, you know, they've dropped back. And then they start to sort of calm down a bit by then, because they're going, we can't keep on getting flats.
Yeah. And then you get to a point where it's like you've got to take so much risk to take the lead away. Like to eat that lead up, you've just got to take like huge risks. And if you've already had flats, and if you're you're just trying to like create problems almost.
Yeah, basically that's it. So, you know, like unless you've got some line that you've magically found that can get you out, around, and past someone, you know, if you're 30 seconds behind or whatnot, gain you 30 seconds, you're stuck until they have the issue.
Yeah. So of all the forms of racing that you've done, like how does this compare, do you think?
I think this is nuts, really, what we're doing. You know, we're racing 1,100 horsepower, four-wheel drive.
$1 million trucks.
Yes, $1 million US $1 million trucks.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're basically, you know, we go to a pit stop and we got almost like a Formula One team sitting there waiting to do tyres and fuel.
So you have to change tyres at the pit?
Yeah, we change tyres and fuel. So like for the 400, because we lost four-wheel drive early, we ended up changing tyres at both pits. We had 2 pit stops, and we changed rear tyres at both pits. Never changed the fronts. And that was just because we were in two-wheel drive, so you're using the tyre a lot more.
Yep.
But if you're in four-wheel drive, we would have only done one pit stop with the tyres, and we would have done fuel at both pit stops, but one would have been the second stop that we would have done tyres. So four-wheel drive over a two-wheel drive just gives you so much advantage.
Because you're just pulling through the shit so much more, eh?
Pulling the front drive, it just drives you around a corner. Like, it pulls you around.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah. So it seems like as well that this kind of racing, there's just so much shit that can go wrong. Like maybe more than any other form of racing, it feels like.
Well, there is. There's so much stuff. We were on a speed zone section where we're doing 60 miles an hour on the road, on the highway, and we had a semi pull out in front of us. And like, it was pulling out, and we were probably 200-300 meters back, and it just took so long to pull out. And I said to Brent, the co-driver, I'm like, what do we got to do? And he goes, go to the right. And so we ran off the road at 60 miles an hour, and there was another team's pit there, and we ran in between the road and the other team's pit to pass this semi, on a drop, and to go past it. But it's just, like, you got stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's so much that's like outside of your control.
Yeah, there's everything outside of your control. Like last race, we had a pickup stuck in the racetrack. You'll get people coming down roads the opposite way to what you're going. They might be ranchers going home or whatever. They don't care. Like, it's...
Yeah, the Baja 400 means nothing to them.
Nothing to them. That's their road to go home. There'll be spectators that might have parked on a line that you had marked.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that. There's been, people go through tents and pop-ups and, hit cars and ride cars off of spectators. And that, because it's just, there's so much things down there that are just so unpredictable.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like that in the world that I know of, maybe other than like the WRC in the 90s and stuff like that, where they just line the road and they're coming past at like 160, 180 Ks and they're trying to touch the car,
Dude. Some of those videos, like I remember watching like Wide World of Sports and stuff back in the day. Yeah. And like, man, the WRC stuff, it's just full send. Yeah. And just thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah. And then, you look at all the different aspects of what they did with the snow and
gravel,
Africa and
asphalt,
everything like that. It's so nuts, and we get so much different terrain down there, where you might be on a fast gravel road doing 120 mile an hour, in these things. Like they're basically 4 ton of car, and you're doing 120, but then you could be doing 100 mile an hour over, 3 or 4 foot whoops.
It's pretty incredible when you see footage of those cars, like the top level cars, like what you guys drive. Yeah. It just seems like they're capable of things that a car shouldn't be capable of.
Yeah. Well, you got to tell your foot and your mind not to talk. Because, you see...
That's the best way to say
it. Yeah, your foot and your mind not to talk. Because,
well, you too.
Yeah, don't talk.
Don't go anywhere near each other.
No, don't hang out at night time. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're telling yourself, your eyes are seeing it and you know what it can do, but you're telling yourself you shouldn't probably be doing that. Yeah. But you just keep, if the harder you hit stuff,
the better it is.
The smoother it is. And it's totally opposite to any other sort of racing that most people ever do.
Yeah.
Because
you're trying to like not hit curbs hard, and you're trying to like really be, I guess, like gentle with the cars. But these, it's like the terrain and the way that the cars are set up, you have to just hit them flat out.
Exactly. And especially the bumps. The quicker you hit them and get on top, it's like on a Supercross or a motocross bike. Top of the bumps, you skim across the top. Same in a car.
So one thing that I think speaks volumes of how hard the sport is how long it took Bryce Menzies to win the 1,000.
Yes.
I think right there is like, that's all you need to know about how tough this sport is.
Oh, exactly. And it wasn't from them not
spending money, not doing the prep.
You know, they're spending, you know, you hear figures what they're spending, and it's anywhere from $3 to $5 million US a year to go and do 4 races. You know,
it's a lot of money.
It's a fair bit of money.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So you have a guy like that's just spent years and years and years doing it. Yeah. And it took them until, what was it, last year, right?
Last year they won, and I think it was like 9 years or 10 years, something like that. It was ridiculous amount of time that it was that he'd been doing it for and hadn't won. And
the level that he's at and the team's at.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, he's... You know, there's probably Bryce Menzies who is right there at the top of the drive, like in capability of being able to drive. You know, you have guys like Luke McMillan, and then you got the Mexicans, and Pudia and Tavo. You know, and then you look at those guys of the level that they've done and the amount of experience that they've had down there. They've basically grown up racing down there, and racing these trucks. And you know, I think like Toby only started. I think the first time was 16 or something like that he drove one of these trucks. And compared to those guys, like the first time I drove one was, must have been 18. And I can still count the amount of races on my hands, using my 2 hands.
Yeah.
And I think I'm up to about 10 now. And, you know, that we've done. And, you know, we are competing and we're a threat to them. And we're becoming a bigger threat to them.
Yeah.
And you know, at first I think it was pretty cool, you know, the Aussies are here and da-da-da, yeah, we love the Aussies and, you know, the usual bullshit. And now they're like, well, you know.
You guys are serious competition.
Yeah, we're serious and we're not going away.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, when we burnt the car down in end of 22, at the 1,000, I think everyone thought we'd pack up and take our bat and ball and piss off home. And I think now they're probably wishing we did.
What was the experience like of being in the car when that happened? Because, man, that like Maddie sent me, like we got our family group text, and whenever we go to whenever he goes to Mexico, it's like, all right, guys, love you, see you soon, you know, like because he's in helis, and it's like it's no joke being down there, you know. And I remember getting the text with the photos that Maddie took. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, that was a wild deal.
It was gnarly. And it was like at first we didn't really realise what was going on. We thought, oh yeah, we just broke something. And it wasn't until we actually pulled up, and I saw red and orange flames coming over my shoulder, and I was like, fuck, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And I got out, and then I'm like, oh shit, the sat phone's in there, my phone's in. I had to go back in and stick my head into the driver's door and stick my hand in to get out of the bag, and but it just. You know, carbon fiber, oil, everything's hot.
Fuel.
You know, you got 200 odd litres of fuel in there, and that thing, once that started going, it just went. And you know, you're sitting there, you know, just feeling useless that you can't do anything, and you know, it's just watching. It's like having a bonfire and throwing $1 million cash on the fire to stoke it.
And you'll just never get that back.
You'll never get that back, you know. People go, oh, well, why hadn't you got insurance? It's like, race car?
Who's insuring a race car?
No one's insuring race cars.
For you to go and hurl down the road in Mexico.
Exactly.
No one's taking that.
No, not at all.
How'd that feel?
It was gutting. You know, it was gutting to, you know, to see that and just have that feeling, you know. You know, fortunately enough, you know, we were able to be able to afford to keep on racing and keep on doing stuff and that. But there's guys out there who, you know, who spend their life savings to go racing, and if that happens to one of them, you know, it's pretty shit, really. So you know, fortunately we're on the other foot where we could keep on going, and that. So, but it still doesn't matter. It still guts every time, you know, that you. Not so much now that you see it, but you know that it's happened and everything like that, and the way it happened, and
you would have a feeling of like still feeling like you've got a lot to prove in the sport too. You know, like I think that there's like you've been racing your whole life, like you're a serious competitor, and like you see that happen, and I'm sure too there's an element of like you're just not even getting to drive your own car. You're not even getting to, like, you're investing everything into this program, and like when it comes time for you to get in the car, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it sort of becomes a little bit of heartbreaking to do it because, as you know, from being in Australia to coming over the other side of the world to come over here into America or into Mexico or wherever, but the amount of effort that we put into our program, and we're remote, versus everyone else who's here, and that they can go and test cars, they can go and do this, they can go and do all that stuff.
You guys just have such a short window every time, and it's just a full send.
And we turn up, we'll turn up, we basically have a day, have a race shop, we go testing, we'll do 40 miles on the car, so we'll do a lap each, 20 miles each, and then we go to Mexico pre-running. And then the race car turns up, Toby jumps in it, qualifies the hell out of it, usually first, and then we go and do the race. We come home after the race back into San Diego, 2 days, boom, on a plane back home. And we're 2.5 weeks.
It's a hectic schedule, eh?
And it's just bang, bang, bang,
and trying to compete at the top level.
Yeah, and we're trying to compete at the top level. And, if there's a team of basically 6 of us, if you take Toby and I out of it, there's probably a team of 6 of us. I bring I bring 2 guys from Australia. I have 2 Mexicans, and I have guy Joe from Arizona who comes and helps us to run the team now for the races, and then I have Robert Mason who preps the truck. So
wild,
yeah, and we're racing against guys who have got some teams have got 15 people full time.
Yeah.
And we're just all, my 2 guys from Australia, they're volunteers. They come, I pay their airfares, they come over because they want to come over and race.
Just a bunch of Aussie yahoos having a crack.
Exactly. And I think that's where what we're doing and what we're achieving, especially this year, is actually really cool.
Yeah.
Because, everyone's even though we're serious about it, we like to have fun.
Yeah.
But everyone's so serious about it, and we, Australians we like to take the piss out of them and everything like that. And, we know that people are trying to, sort of screw us or whatever, at times in a race, and we know all that sort of stuff. But, hey, at the end of the day, we don't care.
Yeah.
We're here to have fun. We're here to race. We're here to win.
Yeah.
And, basically the ultimate goal is to win the Baja 1000.
Yeah.
And, will the first ever international, other than American or Mexican, to win a race, school race in history.
Wow, really?
Yeah, at the 500.
And 2 years in.
And we're talking about it, must have been coming back from Mexico when we were sitting at the border for 3.5 hours on Saturday night at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, it was great. It was sober. It wasn't like even we'd been out on the piss. And so, I said to my wife, I rang her at 4:30. We're just driving to the hotel from dropping the cars off at the race shop. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "We've just dropped the race cars off." And we hopped into bed at the hotel at 10 to 5.
Fuck.
On Sunday morning. And we've been up since 6 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Big stint.
But it's just, it's unbelievable to be able to go and do that sort of stuff compared to what other people are doing.
Did you have any, was there like any voice in your mind that was like, you know what, fuck this, when the truck was burning down?
Yeah, pretty much so. I did. And I even had that, up until the 250 at the start of the year when we DNF'd. I'm like, fuck, man, I'm throwing everything I've got at it.
You can't do any more.
Everything. I'm getting the right people. It's like going to a restaurant and getting a Michelin star chef, and the food comes out and it's shit. And it could have went to a Denny's and it had a better steak, that type of thing. But you've paid $5,000 for it instead of $5.
Yeah.
And it's like we're just throwing everything we have at it to do it properly, and we just kept on. It just felt like we, kept on getting screwed, and then finally, like for 500, and it was just like all of it was worth it. you know. And it's like people go, oh, you cracked the code or anything like that. It's sort of that thing, but it's like, well, you don't really know how you cracked it.
Yeah.
You know, everything just started coming together.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, like even for this race at 400, everything that we didn't do anything different. And we haven't done anything different the whole way through.
Yeah.
But everything just started to come together. And one of my guys, Joe, said to me, he goes, mate, people have gone and raced their whole life in Mexico, in Baja. Have never stood on the podium. Has never won a race. Some of them might not even have finished. And he said, within 18 months, you've won a race. You've, you know, on the podium the next race. And he said, so, you know, look at what you guys have done as a massive achievement.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
But you still want more.
We still want more.
Yeah.
We want to win the 1,000. You know, we still want to, you know, people go, oh, what about the championship and da-da-da? I said, I don't care about the championship because it means nothing. But winning the Baja 1,000 means everything.
Yeah. When was the first time you ever remember seeing the Baja 1,000?
I remember seeing the stuff back in the 90s, late 90s as a kid. My dad actually come over.
Shout out to Keys.
Keys, yeah. He come over in, I don't know, it was like, must have been late 90s. And the Leduc family were running Jeeps.
Yeah.
Kyle and Kurt Leduc.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I even heard about trophy trucks. And he drove one of the Jeeps. We were looking at bringing it back to Australia to race the Australian Safari. He was going to do, which he raced and won a couple of times.
Sick.
And that was the first time. And I said, oh, what were they like? And he goes, it's unbelievable. He goes, you're doing 100 mile an hour and you're going over bumps this, 3 or 4 foot high. And it's like, it's nothing like I've ever driven. And so that was the first thing. And then, obviously Robbie Gordon, who massive name in the sport, who'd been around for years and years, and was a NASCAR driver, IndyCar, all that sort of stuff. So I sort of knew of that. And then I saw some of the stuff and I'm like, that's mental.
Did you ever think you'd be doing it?
No, not really. Not really. It was funny because if I go back to like when I stopped racing V8 Supercars, I didn't really do anything there for a couple of years. And I'd done some Australian Safari stuff.
Yeah. And
then I had my first order. And so I didn't do it. And then I'd done another Safari after that. And then I was just like, no, I'm done. Like it's enough. I've been racing for
your whole life.
Yeah, but basically by that stage, probably 35 years. And then, basically I got to the stage where I actually stopped work as well.
Yeah.
We floated PWR and I stopped working full time. And so my wife's like,
you need to race, bro.
You need to get a hobby.
yeah. Get out of the house.
Get out. You need a hobby. Piss off and stop annoying me.
Yeah.
And so that's why, I went and done the motorbike adventure tour with Darryl across to Fink. And that was the first time I'd ever been to Fink. And then I saw that car that come down the track and I'm like,
it just sparked
I need one of those. That looks cool.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how I was going to drive it, but it looked cool.
Did you know Toby at the time?
I think I met him once.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
And he was like the king then of Fink.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. And so I'm like, oh, well, this bloke can do it. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it.
How soon after the truck burned down did you put an order in for a new one?
Well, the next day, or a couple of days later, we went to Luke McMillan's house because he won the Baja 1000 that year, Luke and Jason Duncan. So we went to Luke McMillan's house for a party. We got very drunk. And I think we were singing Days Like This. So Duncan sent me the video the other night, a few weeks ago of it.
He's a funny bugger.
Oh, he's a funny prick. Yeah. And he goes, hey, the contrast. You got the guy who's just burnt down his race truck, and you got the guy there, who won the Baja 1000, and we're singing away. And I said, don't show that to anyone. We're really bad singers. and so. I didn't go. I was supposed to go and have a look at the truck the next day, and I was sort of hungover, and I'd lost my phone in the pool and my wallet in the pool. So we waited till the day after we were flying out, and it was Andy McMillan's truck, and he was getting out of the sport, and basically same truck. We went and looked at it. I said to him, "All right, I'm flying out tonight. Let me know how much you want for it." And that I landed in Australia. Spoke to my wife Emma about it, and she's like, "Do whatever you want to do. If you want to do it, do it." And so I texted him and said, "Hey, I'm not going to pay you this, but I'll pay you that." And we done a deal straight away.
That's so savage.
So within a week. Yeah.
Savage. Just back on the horse.
Back on the horse. It's one of those things where I'm not the person who can be defeated easy.
Yeah.
And, the passion and I suppose the business sense of it doesn't really make business sense, but, the business side of it that you're hungry to succeed. And, when you have that feeling inside yourself that you can succeed, and the drive to, it's a totally different thing. If you have that self-doubt and all that sort of shit, people don't usually succeed in that and the drive to do it. And it was like, well, I'm not giving up, We're there for 2 races. I'm not giving up. And that's why we kept on going.
So cool.
Yeah.
Was there any positives out of it? Do you think is there anything you can take from the truck burning down?
Well, it didn't cost us to take it home. No,
save some money.
Save some money. Didn't have to refuel it. Put new tyres on.
I love the positivity.
Yeah,
love
very
the
positive. Very positive. I don't know really. I think really it could have been worse.
True.
Could have been upside down, stuck in the car, getting burnt. That type of thing. But I think, at the end of the day, shit happens. And that's would have been my mentality is, shit happens, for that sort of style of thing. Yeah. Obviously it burnt, something failed, which we'll never know the true cause of it.
That's the thing about fires, eh? You just can't know.
You don't know. Yeah. And people on social media going, "Oh, how could you not know what happened?" Da, da, da. The thing's in a smouldering pile of piss on the ground. Yeah. Your engine's melted. The front portals and the front four-wheel drive system's melted because it's all out of aluminium. Your wheels are melted. Everything, the frame was, burnt to a crisp. So, you can't tell anything.
Yeah.
And so, I think the thing is you just go, okay, well, that one's there. Put that behind us. Let's move.
Yeah. And it probably brought the crew closer together too. I feel like there's a fucking trauma bonding.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? You're going through it, everyone's going through it together, and it kind of brings the crew back together. So maybe that's a positive that can come out of it.
Yeah, probably so. And it's funny, we do stuff, with our crew and that it's just a comedy show the whole time down there. We're hanging shit on each other. We want to have fun. And, with our guys, it's all about when we're there racing, we're serious. But when the race is not on, we're having fun.
Yeah.
And we're enjoying it. Because, Mexico is not really the picture perfect place to be for 2.5 weeks. Running through the desert, and they're sitting in chase cars for 3 hours waiting for us to turn up so they can put some fuel in for us, and then we can go and have the fun again, and they're still sitting there.
Yeah.
So it's sort of where
you have to make it fun the whole
time.
Got
to make it fun, and it's amazing the guys that we do have who help us out. They're pretty good guys.
So what's, for people that are listening that might not know a lot about the whole trophy truck world, what's the logistics? So let's run through the Baja 400. What does it take to get there from the pre-running to the race to the helis to the whole deal? Yeah,
so at 400, so we have 400 miles of race. So we have 2 pit stops. Okay, so we rent basically, we pay Menzies Motorsport to do our pit stops.
Do you reckon they'll keep doing it for much longer?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe not. So we have them who do it, and then so that's an IMVA race. So they probably have at a pit stop. There's probably 10 guys. So they got like 20 or 30 guys, and that because they have more stops than us. More options than us.
Oh, right.
Yes.
So you've only got like...
We only have 2 options. This is pit 1, that's pit 2, depending on how many pit stops there is for the fuel. And so we only have 2 options. They had 5 options at the 400 so that they could try to leapfrog us and get in front of us.
The old undercut.
The old undercut, which didn't work until Toby's got a flat tyre.
Yeah.
But so they have that, but they do a very, very good job of getting us serviced and getting us out. And so for the race, we have to go down, we have 4 chase trucks, 4 trailers. We have 1 pre-runner, which is a spec truck. So that's the next class down. It's just a smaller engine in it. And then we have 2 Can-Ams as well. And then the race car that comes down. So we got that, and then basically we have, when we're pre-running, we'll be out with one of the Can-Ams or both the Can-Ams to start with, and then I'll jump into the spec truck, so then you can start running it more at speed.
Yeah, right. So you'll do like the slower run, like really try and take in as much data as you can.
Yeah.
Are you making like notes and stuff?
Yeah. So the navigator's in there with you making notes.
Yeah.
And that they could, with a section of, let's say 100 miles, they could make over 300 notes or 400 notes.
Yeah, sick.
In a section, and that comes from washouts to rocks to trees to maybe different lines and all that sort of stuff that you can try or don't try. And you'll try, you might try, like especially in sand washes, there might be a sand wash is 500 metres wide. There might be 10 lines in there, and one of them might be quick. The other might be really rough and twisty and shitty, rocky or whatever, and one might be just straight through quick. Yeah. So you spend a lot of time doing pre-running. That's the most important part of the race. And then, so once you've done all that, then with the spec truck, we actually do a full run through of the race. So Toby will do from the start to all his sections, and then to where I was hopping in, and then I do to the end. And so we do a full run through, which we can do that not at... It's basically race speed, but not the race speed that we do in a full-size truck.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so the day before the race, a helicopter arrives, and then you got 2 guys up or 3 guys up in the helicopter, and one guy is comms, other guys your
so there's comms to the truck.
Yeah, comms to the truck from the heli, and so they're flying over the top of you or flying maybe about 200 or 300 meters in front of you, a bit more, to be able to tell you, especially when your first car on the road, tell you what's going on.
Hazards.
Yeah, hazards. Cars coming the other way or people.
Yeah, Steve was saying that last time that yous were there was just like a car that just fully pulled out and just started coming head on towards you. And he's like on the radio, like freaking out.
Yeah, and that's what happens down in Mexico. They doesn't make a difference. They know if they know, or even if they know the race is on, you know, who knows? So you'll have that, but then you'll have cows and you'll have horses and you'll have shit that you can hit, or booby traps that the Mexicans make down there because they want to see a car crash. Yeah. That type of thing. But then also with the heli's very good at giving you splits from behind.
So that's where the maintaining the distance really comes in.
Yeah, so that's where the big thing is of that. And then, the heli could see someone on another line and go, hey, there's someone on another line and they're making, they're going to pass you if you don't get moving or whatever it might be. And then also, the main reason is the safety. Yeah. And so that's the main reason why, we run the heli down there.
What a wild place, eh?
Because you just, it's just nuts. Like you will be driving down there and the police will pull you over, oh, you can't be in that lane with a trailer. It's like, oh, okay, didn't know that, sorry. Oh, you got to follow me to the police station. No, mate. I'm not following you to the police station, mate. No, you do. I said, like, oh, how can we make this go away?
Really?
And it's just nuts. It's just, it's totally different to what in Australia, what we would think about it. Like the Americans know.
They know what's up to come down.
Yeah, because it's basically right on their border.
Yeah.
And you got so many Mexicans in America and all that sort of stuff. So you sort of, they grow up with that sort of thing of, knowing what to expect when they go to Mexico. You come from Australia and you go to Mexico the first time, it blows your mind.
Yeah, I still haven't been there.
Well, what are you doing for the 1,000?
When is it?
November.
Oh, what date?
I think the race like the 14th.
Oh, I don't think I'm busy.
Oh, come on down.
Dude, I almost need to, I've never done it. I've always wanted to go down and check it out.
Yeah, it's totally nuts.
Yeah, it just seems like a completely different world. And again, like what you're saying about being from Australia, like we just don't have that. We're literally on an island. It's
exactly.
just us.
Like our wildest race that we have
is Fink.
Yeah.
Which ain't that wild.
And it's not that wild compared to what's happening down in Mexico and the racing. Even the racing from racing in the States to Mexico is totally different.
Yeah, like the Mint 400.
Yeah, Mint 400 and everything, which is awesome.
Are you just going to do them?
The biggest problem that we have with a full drive trophy truck, it takes the prep on it is, one, very expensive, and two, I think it's about 400 hours to re-prep that truck.
Fuck, really?
Yeah.
That's weeks, man.
Yes. So that's the biggest problem where, like for Mint 400, Toby and I went and watched this year with BF Goodrich, and it was only, I think it's 2 weeks prior to the San Felipe 250, which is the first race down in Mexico.
Yeah.
I've raced the Mint a couple times now, which is an awesome race, but that's the other thing with the spec truck that we have as a pre-runner. Well, it's a full race truck. So we could go and race a spec class or race trophy truck class with that against Unlimiteds if we really wanted to.
Yeah, right.
So it just gives you more time. And I think the thing is with these, the more time you actually spend in the truck, the better it is.
Yeah.
And the better adjustment you get. And
you're just getting more data downloaded.
Yeah. And it's just always the first time you jump back in when we go and do the shakedown. I shouldn't say test, do the shakedown of the truck. And the first 3 or 4 miles, your eyes are like, you're like that, because of the speed, everything's coming at you.
Yeah.
And it takes a little bit for that to adjust.
Yeah.
And so it's quite nuts in that aspect of it.
Yeah. Of all the racing that you've done, what was the feeling like when you crossed the finish line for the 500?
It was pretty cool, pretty emotional.
Had to be.
Yeah, very emotional, just because the amount of work that we had done in there to actually get there to that stage was, it was just
monumental.
Yeah, everything. You spend time away from your family. I got two girls who are, one's 14, one's 12, and
they've got their own things going on.
They got their own things going on, and it was actually pretty cool because my youngest was with us.
Oh, really?
At the 500, yeah. So that was pretty cool for her to come and see, and that because it was funny because like when my kids started getting to the age of where they sort of realised of go old enough and at school, and people would go, oh, your dad was a racing car driver, and they go, oh, what? And they come home and they go, oh, Dad, did you race cars? And I said, yeah, I did. I used to years ago,
Yeah.
And
yeah, look up my crashes on YouTube.
Yeah, look up, yeah, because that's what we're good for. No, but you look at, and then they started Googling. Got to the age of working out how to Google and all that sort of stuff, and so it was pretty funny. And I took them out to Fink, not last year before, I think it was. No, last year actually it was, and I took them there, and that was the first time they saw me race an off-road car. And the year prior, I took them to Darwin when I was racing stadium trucks at the Supercar round. And I cartwheeled the thing like 6 times or something off a jump. And anyway, they were out looking at crocodiles at Matt Wright's crocodile park thing, safari thing. Anyway, Emma rings me and goes, "Oh, are you okay?" I said, "Oh, a bit dizzy." And I got back to the hotel and I had bloodshot eyes and looked like I'd had a few rounds with Mike Tyson. And the next day they come out and my oldest actually spent the whole race hiding in the toilets. So that was something different because that was the first race they'd been there.
Yeah.
And that's just because she was nervous and frightened and all that sort of stuff. And but anyway, they're over that now. They hang more shit on me than anyone else.
So it just runs in the family.
It just runs in the family. It does.
That.
It does.
I think that there is something pretty cool and like special about being the type of dad that can like they're seeing their dad getting after it.
Yeah.
And like they've got their horses
yeah.
and, you know, like they've really got their own thing
yeah.
going on. And it's like to watch the car burn down and to watch the heartbreak and the adversity and then to see you win. Like, I mean, you don't have to do any of this shit.
No, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, I think it's still a pretty cool thing that you're like out there. Obviously you're having fun and you're doing something that you want to do, but it's like, it's cool to set an example for your kids too and to show them like, look, shit happens, you know, and like you can keep going forward and you can come back and winning's sweeter after hardships and, you know, like there's a lot of life lessons that you can teach your kids by like setting that good example, you know.
Oh, exactly. And it's funny, like my oldest who rides horses who does dressage is very, very good and for her age, she's only 14. And she was competing in Brisbane on the weekend. And anyway, she goes, "Dad, I've won my first two. You better. It was after qualifying. Toby's qualified first, so all you got to do tomorrow is win again, and when we've both won, and
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, and the drive there, and the competitiveness of it, and you know, I think the big thing, especially with motorsport, you got all these other people that you're competing with. With the horse thing, you're competing against people, but you're competing against yourself on improvement of a score. You know, that's obviously how you win with the highest score wins. And so the only person you're really competing against is yourself and how you do it and the drive that she has to be better and to want to win. I don't know if I ever had that much drive when I was a kid.
Really?
At her age to want to win.
Huh.
You know, I think I think back when I raced motorbikes, of course you wanted to win, but
it was fun.
It was fun too.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably only later in life, you know, when it gets more serious, you know, you realise what it takes and everything, and you know, either people have it in them. To want to keep on pushing and keep on trying and striving and doing better to be able to win, or they're there to make up the numbers.
Yeah.
And that was the thing with racing in Baja. We're not there to make up numbers. You know, I don't need to go and race a race car and spend, you know, over $1 million US a year to race 4 races just to make up numbers.
Yeah.
You know, we're there to win and to kick everyone's ass, and that's what we want to do.
Is it cool to see that in your daughter?
Yeah, it is cool. It's cool. Like she's brutal.
That's so
At
good.
14, she's brutal. I think she probably takes after her mother more, really. But no, but it's cool. Like it's amazing. And then where our youngest is not the opposite, but like she'll go and play basketball at school for the school team, and it's like every competitor on the other side is her sister. That's how she basically treats them. No, treats them.
Oh,
like she'll be fouled out before half time.
It's just a little savage.
Oh, just a savage.
Get her into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I know. I've seen her in her sister fight before. It's brutal. They're dirty.
Is it cool to think that like your daughter could be in the Olympics one day? Because that's like the trajectory, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think so. I think that she could. Like 32. I think. At the end of it, she wants to keep on doing what she's doing.
So that would be the Olympics 2032.
32. I think 28 here in LA would be a little too soon for her. She'll still be, she'll be 18 then, so she'll probably be just a bit young.
Yeah.
For dressage. But, we're trying to put things in place for her to be able to provide her with opportunities in Europe and stuff like that, where dressage is a major sport, and that in which she competed after the 500. I went to Europe and that to Germany with her. She was competing for Australia in a Future Stars Championship. She got selected for the Australian team.
Fuck, that's cool.
I think she was the youngest ever equestrian rider for Australia.
Wow.
To be selected. And out of a group of, I think, 8 girls or 6 girls it was, she ended up going the best out of Australians. And it was pretty cool because dressage is, it's like, I suppose it's sort of like racing, not like racing cars where, you can jump in a car and you can, within a couple of laps, you can, work out what to do if it's not working right.
Yeah.
Where dressage is, you got a horse and it's got
its own mind.
It's got its mind of itself, the level of what it's at. These kids were borrowing horses or buying horses to do this, not taking their horses from Australia. And, only ridden them for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, where the kids that they're competing against ride them all year long. And so, to even compete against them for the kids that went from Australia, they done so well. It's more about the experience.
Yeah.
I find, and giving kids
the opportunity.
Like I was fortunate enough when I used to race motocross, and to come to America 3 months a year and race for 3 months a year in Southern California. You could go and race 4 or 5 times a week, and you're racing against guys who are so much faster. So much faster. You race against a guy who's a local, local expert at that track, and that guy would smoke a pro. Yeah. Because he knows the track so well. But that makes you improve. And that was the biggest thing. And that was the thing why when I was, 12, 13, 14, 15, used to come to the States and race was so that I could go back home and be quicker.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps, that style of thing. And that's, no matter where you are, there's no use being, the big dog in
the King of Pooh Castle. Is what I call
that's it. The King of Pooh Castle. When you go out into the real world, you're fucking nowhere. Yeah. And that was the way. But I look at it with my daughter of giving. We're fortunate enough to be able to give her the opportunities.
Yeah.
And if she wants to do it and do it properly and put that effort in, she'll keep on. She'll get those opportunities.
The support,
and she'll get the support, and she'll get results.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't, well, she doesn't.
And then
you don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's as simple as that.
I think it's really cool. I said this at the, there was like a press conference at the SMX. Mm-hmm. Last week they had the kids on 65s, and I just said to them at the press conference, I'm like, you guys, I think they were like 10, 11.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this what you want to do? Like, do you know now that you're going to be a Supercross rider?
Yeah.
Every single one of them was like, I want to be a Supercross rider.
Yeah.
And I think back to my childhood. I mean, what a fucking blessing in a way to like have, even if you don't get there.
Yeah.
Just to be that age, 10, 11-year-old kid with a focus and a plan and like really sticking to it. Like, man, it's just got to give you such a head start in life in a way, when you've like really got a goal and really got something to work towards, because so many kids just don't have that.
Well, it teaches you discipline and
commitment follow
and
through,
everything.
Yeah.
And where, you look at kids, they're stealing shit, doing drugs or doing whatever,
Yeah.
And they got no hope.
Yeah.
But then what have they got? What's their example in life?
Yeah, what's stopping them from that?
Yeah. But most of the time their example in life is their parents or the people they hang around with.
Yeah.
And their drop kicks.
Yeah.
And you look at these kids, and you've been around long enough where you've seen it, where parents live through their kids in sport, and sometimes they burn them out.
Yeah,
and that happens a lot. But the thing is, if you got people that are committed, but you're realistic in life, if your kid turns around and goes, "I don't want to do that anymore. I want to go to university and become a lawyer or become a doctor or whatever," you go, "Well, we've had fun."
Yeah,
and that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that there's something it's something I always think about with Maddie and I, like, we still go ride with Dad.
Yeah.
You know, like when you do sport or you really invest in your kids and you really put effort into them.
Yeah.
Like I would still call my dad a friend.
Yeah.
Like actually he's like my dad, but he's also a friend.
Yeah.
We
exactly.
go riding, we do trips together. Like even that, because I think there's a thing where some people give like, they're never going to get anywhere with it. It's like that kind of isn't even really the point.
Yeah,
like
that's
the
right.
point is there's such like a bond and a relationship. I mean, you've probably got it with Keys, you know?
Yeah. And I can look at, my dad's still the CEO of PWR and works probably
More than anyone.
more than anything in the world than what we did when we owned it privately.
Yeah.
But, you look at, they have 3 manufacturing plants around the world now. And so every time that he comes to Mexico, he's either been to the UK first or to Indianapolis first or whatever, and he's flying through. Like for the 500, his flight got delayed.
Did he come to the 500 this time?
He come to the 500. He come to the 400, he come to the 500.
Oh, that's so sick he was there.
And so his flight got delayed.
Oh,
so
Matty told me.
Yeah, he didn't get to Mexico until 1 a.m. the morning of the race, and then he was up at 6, and then he was in the chase truck with Joe, chasing to like 6 different places. We finished the race, and then he jumped in the car at 9 o'clock and drove back across the border because he had a 6 a.m. flight. Yeah, he was there for a day. That's the commitment of that he wants to be there and he want because he loves it.
And that's what that is a dad and a son going racing.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you're at Tivoli or a Baja.
Exactly.
Same shit.
Exactly. And so, like we've, for 30 odd or 40 years, I'm 45 now, so I think I started racing motorbikes when I was 6. So let's say 39 years, that's what we've done. Yeah. Motorbikes to supercars to off-road cars to everything. And then, in between with business, that's what we've done. Like if we had to fly to America for 2 days for NASCAR stuff, if we had something stuff up or whatever, we'd do that. Yeah. Formula One, doesn't make a difference what it was. And you'd land back home and you go straight to work.
Yeah. It's so cool. Like, and I think that's such an underrated thing. Yeah. Everyone's worried about like making it. Yeah. And they're, like you said, living through your kid or whatever. Yeah. But I think, you look at your relationship with your old boy or like our relationship with our parents. I look at Hayden, Deegan and Brian, right? Yeah. The one thing that always just blew me away with those guys and like knowing them behind the scenes as well is like, fuck man, what a sick dad to just impart that much self-belief in a kid. Yeah. Yeah. So there's even if you don't quote unquote, like you made it with PWR. Yeah. Like you obviously made it in racing as well. Yeah. But PWR is just like the most ridiculous success. Mm-hmm. And it's like that is forged from a relationship between a father and a son. Yeah. And that relationship came through racing. Oh, exactly. And committing to a goal and, and like enabling your kid, like you said with your daughter, you're just like providing the opportunity for somebody to like develop as a human. Yeah, exactly. And, the thing is, I think that the best thing about that is if you're able to do it, to be able to do it. But then you see people who are doing it, they're able to do it and they do it for the wrong reasons. And the kid just goes, I don't want to be here, and the other way. Yeah. And that's where the living, through your child, your dream through your child was, oh yeah, I used to race bikes, but I was never, I was never good enough to make it, but he is. Yeah. And you've actually, like you're talking about Brian Deegan and the Deegans, Brian Deegan rode for us in Brisbane. Dude, that's a trip. Brisbane Supercross in like 90. Must have been like 94 or 95 or something like that. What was that experience like? So what was the deal? You had a team back home.
So we had a Kawasaki team back home. Which
what was it called?
I think it was K&J Radiators.
So it was before PWR.
It was before PWR. So we had a team that we ran for, must have been about 4 years, 5 years. And so we had... we had Stephen Andrews the first year,
Yeah.
He rode for us for 1 year, and then the second year, there's a new young guy coming up, a guy called Joel Elliott, and out of Curry. And so
why so many fast motherfuckers from Curry?
We got Craig Anderson, Chad Reed,
Casey Stoner.
I don't know who else you got there now, like coming from there, but there was so many quick kids come out of that area.
That's wild. Well, Toby's Cessna. Maitland.
Same area.
Same shit.
Basically same area. And so we had Joel Elliott who rode for us and who unfortunately died here in the States.
Yeah,
on a trip with us, and that had a crash at a Supercross in Adelaide, got knocked out, hopped on the plane next day, flew to the States. We were already here, flew to the States, and we had him a ride. We went and raced at Mammoth, the big amateur race at Mammoth, and he had a ride with Star Yamaha on 125s. For that race.
Wow.
And we'd done a couple of trips prior over here with him, and just quick, really, really quick.
Yeah.
Really good family, really good people, and just never had the opportunity. Like mum and dad worked really hard. They'd done everything for the kids
that they could do.
And it was funny. The guy by the name of Mark Pace. And Pacey was a very good motocross rider back in the 70s, 80s, before Gawley, before Dak, around that era.
Yeah.
And he used to build the Supercross tracks for John Fenton.
Huh.
And so that's how we knew Pacey. And we said, well, we started running this team and we said, Pacey, hey, how about you come and run it for us and do that? And so then we were like, oh, well, let's who can we get to be a senior rider? And so that's when we got Joel Elliott.
Were you still riding at this time?
Yeah, I was still riding at this time. And I can't remember where we were. It was like, anyway, so before that, he flew over and he was just sick, sick. Anyway, so
the head knock got
him. They took him up to Reno and had him checked out, and he had fluid on the spine and all that sort of stuff. So he couldn't ride for, the doctor said, a couple of weeks. Come back down to LA here, had him checked out again, got the clearance from the doctor, and we were riding at a nighttime at a lit track.
Like Paris or something?
Not Paris. I can't remember what it was. It was like near Paris somewhere. And anyway, the last session we rode right in front of me, went over the jump, blacked out, going over the jump, went over the handlebars.
So he didn't crash. He
blacked out.
No.
And then hopped up, and about 30 seconds later, blacked out again, and never regained consciousness. And so apparently he had a bleed on the brain or
like
something like that. Aneurysm. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. And
I never knew that.
Yeah. So then we, one of the worst things you ever want to do, and like every time Keys, had to do it. He wasn't even here. Keys wasn't here. He was in Australia, but to bring someone else's kid home in a box, to their family, is devastating. With any time that someone, that happens to someone, and so that was a really big, thing for us in that stage, and then so after that, we had bikes and everything, and it was at the Ekka, I think, the Supercross at the Ekka.
Yeah.
And Metzger come out and Deegan and I can't remember who else it was. And Brian. I think Brian raced one or two races on our bikes.
What was your memory of like dealing with him back then?
I think he might have been only 18 or something.
Yeah, he would have been super young
and wild.
Yeah.
And it was actually before the the crusty demon stage of wild.
He still would have just been like full Supercross.
Yeah, he was full Supercross and everything like that. So he was a pretty good dude. Metzger back then was a good dude. We used to hang out. We become really good friends with Doug Dubuck.
Yeah.
Back then, and he used to stay at our house and all that sort of stuff. And when I used to come over here, I used to go riding with Doug still up until probably about 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And all that sort of stuff. So, it's, like you talk about someone like Brian with, he's a very smart individual. That's where a lot of people probably used to underestimate him of how smart he was.
I think now he just doesn't get the respect.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like, people just think he's some fucking crazy mini dad.
Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah,
he's just he's gnarly.
Oh, he's very smart, very, very smart. And you look at, I don't know Hayden and that, but you look at how much that kid wants it, and how determined and everything like that. The family, you just look at the family, like it's, you got Hayden, you got Haley, who can drive, very, very good. And that, you just look at the family itself of
just like really high achievers. Yeah. He's just like created an environment that's like conducive to like personal growth in a way.
Yeah, that's right. And so like he's really, really cool,
Yeah. So who was your era of moto? Like, you used to ride with Taka and shit, eh?
Yeah, Taka.
One of my favourite people on planet Earth.
I haven't seen Taka for years.
He was actually just in Oz.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
So I grew up with Troy Carroll, Taka, Burner. Andrew McFarlane was a couple of years older than us. Chad was a couple of years younger than us. And so that was that era. John O'Porter.
That's a sick era of
all that
Australian
sort of
racing.
stuff. And it was always Takashi, Troy Carroll, and myself was always didn't make a difference where it was. Every now and then you'd have a few other kids come in, and that, but like even at our club, Takashi was at the same Gold Coast club as what I was. And that dude was fast. And that was one of the reasons why we used to come to America was let's get faster. We need to get faster. We need to race more.
Yeah. And what got you into two wheels?
Well, my dad used to have a wrecking yard in Warrnambool in Victoria.
No shit.
Yeah. So I used to have a wrecking yard, and I think I was about 3. And so on a Pee-wee 50, I used to ride up and down the service road, and the local copper always used to get on the loudspeaker when he was driving by, trying to chase me back into the wrecking yard. So,
and that's where it started.
That's where it started. Yeah.
So did Keys race or anything?
No, Keys race a little bit of speedway stuff, like speedway cars, sports sedan sort of thing. So I think you call them, or super sedans, and but yeah, like when I was young. He didn't really race anything, and then he raced the Australian Safari a couple of times, won a couple of times. So the racing side of things was probably a little bit foreign to us.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't something like he grew up doing, and then you just automatic, like you kind of found your own way into it a little bit. Yeah,
pretty much so.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I guess how far did you take that? Because you did like all the nationals and like you did a fair bit of shit with moto. And then what made you go to four wheels?
Basically I raced everywhere, at home. I raced over here. And
you did like Mammoth and shit.
Done like Mammoth back in, I think it was like 93 or 94. I done Mammoth on a 125 as an amateur in a
I would have run like a piece of shit up there.
Yeah. It was, mate, that was unbelievable, that place, like how rough it was.
It's cool, eh?
But totally, once again, totally different to Australia.
Yeah.
And then I turned 16, so I turned pro at home, and I was doing an apprenticeship actually for my old man. I left school before that, and because I never liked school like most people. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm wasting my time. I'll go and do an apprenticeship. And I turned 16. I'd done the Queensland Supercross series, which Cairns and Townsville and Mackay and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And
was that at like Black River Stadium and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fuck.
And
I remember that.
I broke both my wrists in practice. Cased out on a triple, snapped both my wrists, and I'm sitting on a hay bale next to Mike Metzger. And I'm going, I think I broke my wrist. And he's looking at my wrist. He's going, yeah, man, you have. And they're pointing opposite directions of what they should be. Anyway, my old man comes running over, yelling and screaming at me, "You lazy bastard, pick up your bike." And I'm like, "I can't." Anyway, so he looked at my wrist and he picked up the bike. And so basically I started racing again the following year and then I was just like, yeah, you know what? No, I don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And that was the end of the motocross stuff and Supercross.
And then, so where were you at there? So there's a few things that happen in your life, right? So like you start PWR.
Yep.
So you were 18 when you started that?
Yeah, I was 18, yep.
And then you go from that, then you have like this, you get into like the 4-wheel thing. So like how do those two like intertwine?
Yeah, so I think when I was 17, stadium trucks come out to Australia. Okay, and proper stadium trucks, so dirt stadium trucks, okay?
Yeah.
And so they're all the old stadium trucks from the Mickey Thompson series over here. So there's Dodges and Chevys and Toyotas didn't come out, but Nissans and a few other brands. And so I was 17 and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Motorbike with a cage, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
I won't break my wrist on a triple.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, we basically got them, put the panels on them, and went racing. And we raced in Canberra the first time.
So you'd never really raced cars before?
Never really raced cars before. No, never driven a go-kart or anything like that. And so we're like, okay, let's go racing and see how we go. And the first night we're winning everything and everything like that. And you're running into a few people. And I had these older guys wanting to take me out the back to belt me because I ran into them and all that sort of shit. And we're like, well, whatever, we don't care. And won the championship, the Stadium Truck Championship that year. And then the following year, we started. Well, that year I'd started PWR out the back of my old man's business, which was K&J Radiators.
Yeah.
And so I started just by myself. Like he said, heaps of people. We got race cars here, like Supercars and all that sort of stuff. They're buying all their product from America. We've got everything here to make it. Go to TAFE and learn how to weld. So I went and done night TAFE and learned how to weld.
What apprenticeship were you doing?
I was a tool maker, so fitter and turner.
So you were doing that under Keys?
Yeah.
So under K&J?
Yeah.
And then he's like, go learn how to weld.
Go learn how to weld. And so I just had like the size of this room here, area at the back, and I was just getting radiators and I was getting tanks folded up and welding tanks on and all that sort of stuff and selling them. And I started selling 1 and 2 and 3 and, before I knew it, I was sort of getting too busy to do it myself. So I had to employ a guy and employed another person. And then Keys said, oh, well, instead of getting everyone here in my business to make everything for you, you're going to have to start paying for it and get your own shed. And that's just where it grew. And it grew to a stage of, we sort of had, I think, from 97 or 98, 97, end of 97 we started PWR. And then to, before we knew it, we had 100 and something people.
How long did it take to get to that level?
I think it was probably about 10 years was till we got to around there, 97, 2007. Yeah, we would have had 100 by then, about 10 years.
Wow.
And then we went from, we used to buy all the cores from K&J, and then that got sold when Keys sold out of that to a company called Natrad.
They used to nick it in Natrad.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, they used to do the
old ads.
Yeah.
And then so he left there. Must have been, he had 3 years that he had to serve
work for the
business. So he left there and he goes, oh, well, how about I throw some money into yours and let's really sort of take this to the next level. And
what was his reasons for selling out of K&J?
Oh, just time. The market had changed. We went from copper and brass radiators to basically about 97, went from copper and brass radiators to aluminium radiators with plastic tanks. All the new, like 90% of the new cars come out to Australia had that. So the market had changed, which we changed with the market. And then the market was changing again. It started becoming a box trade, so out of China.
Yeah.
And he could see that
it was like happening. A race to the bottom almost.
Yeah, and he could see what was happening.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, I got someone who wants to buy it, I'm out.
Yeah.
And so that's what he did. And then he was like, well, let's throw some money and invest and in your business and see, I think it can be bigger. And basically that's what we did. I was racing supercars at the time then. And then so, he started basically running the business because I was racing. And, we started growing, growing and growing. We built a new factory at Yatala.
Yeah.
Just before GFC.
Yeah.
And was building it. We had a change of bank manager, and the bank manager said, "Oh, well, you spent $10 million, and we value the factory only at $6 million. You need to give us another $3 million, or else we're going to foreclose on you." Really? Yeah. And we're like, "Well, fuck you. That's not going to happen." So, Emma, my wife, was pregnant, was due, basically 3 months later or whatever it was. And so I sold our house. Key sold his house. We sold a factory in Melbourne. We sold everything that we had to, because we knew that what we had was, something special with PWR. And so we sold everything, paid the bank, gave them the bird, swapped banks, and everything.
So how
like
does that work?
Well, we just had, GFC, when it happened, obviously the banks all imploded. You had, guys, you get the guys who have been your manager for 18 years or whatever, bank manager for 18 years. He gets turfed. They got a new guy who might be from a different department, like credit or whatever.
Just full bean counter.
Just bean counter and all that sort of stuff. And, a lot of banks don't want to work with you. And that's just the way they're programmed of, if it doesn't fit in that box where you tick it.
Yeah, like risk averse.
Yeah.
Like extremely risk averse.
And
then not doing the work to understand the business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what this guy done. And, we're like, screw you. And we, done everything that we could to save it, which we did. And that was like 2008. We go, well, okay, let's go after the rest of the world. And so we started with NASCAR. We had in there with Lee Diffie who done some work for us over here. Because he was in motorsport and he knew a lot of people. He opened some doors for us.
What a great dude, eh?
Exactly.
He's such a good dude.
Exactly. And now you look at him, he's voice of NASCAR now.
And IndyCar.
And I think he was doing Supercross as well.
The Olympics.
Mm-hmm. So he's done very well for himself over here.
Yeah.
And basically within about 2 months, we took half a field off a competitor here. And so we done that for a fair bit, and that's where it started growing. And then 2009, went to a motorsports show in the UK for Autosport show, and we had our own distributorship over there, and basically our guy manager who ran it tackled a guy called Pat Simmons, who was a head designer for Renault at the time. And anyway, Pat Simmons goes, "Oh yeah," looked at our stuff, said, "Oh, it's nice, da-da-da." And he goes, "Well, I'll give you drawings, and if you can make me a radiator and I actually get it, I'd be happy." And we were like, "Well, why is that?" And he goes, "Well, everyone says that they can make them for Formula One and that. And, about 10 people have approached me to make, sell them, to provide radiators to me, and no one's ever come back to me." And so we made some radiators for him, and they went to Renault, and at that stage Renault had just started supplying Red Bull with engines.
Yeah. So do you remember what it was like? Because I don't think people understand how gnarly PWR is. I didn't until Maddie started working around you. I had no fucking idea. And I would drive past there every day, see the building on the side of the highway, and you remember seeing PWR and catalogs and stuff like that. But I don't think the average Australian would understand how gnarly PWR is.
Yeah, it's different, it's one of those funny things. It's because
it's such a under the hood part. Literally,
yeah, it's under the hood part, but it's not mainstream. You know what I mean? Like mainstream sort of, it gets recognised mainstream and everything like that. And the thing was, we always had a saying, you can't sell a secret. Okay, but then in what we do,
it's so secret.
There's a lot of secrets because you're dealing with these companies and you're signing NDAs and you're signing all this sort of stuff, and you're dealing with the biggest car manufacturers in the world in their motorsport programs. We deal with the biggest sports drink in the world, or energy drink in the world with Red Bull. We're a technical partner with Red Bull Formula One. That shit just doesn't happen. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And some of the projects that we do are just so, they were so far out and so extreme, you wouldn't even think about that. We used to do work for Google, for a company that Google owned, which was a power company. And I wonder how they found us, Googled us, it's just like, you're doing shit like that. And, I look at PWR now we floated on the stock exchange in Australia in 2015.
Yeah.
And at the time, I never thought, when we had an idea of, okay, we'll go sell the company, or what's our next move with Keys and I? We're like, well, what do we do next, And that, because we worked pretty hard, a lot of hours, weekends,
crazy
everything,
stress
all the time. And it's like, what do we do? Because I wanted to grow up and have, for my kids to grow up and have, a father at home and pick up from school and all that sort of stuff, And, I was like, well, let's try to sell it. We think it's worth something. Let's try to sell it, And so we went to, a trade buyer, and we went all around the world for trade buyers. And everyone knew a PWR, but it was like, it's in Australia. Well, okay. And then we done private equity, and we worked out pretty quickly that we're still going to do all the work, get told what to do, and get told when to sell it, and we won't make the money out of it.
They will.
And then they can tell us to piss off whenever they want, and, it could ruin it. So we thought, well, we'll float it on the stock exchange. And we never thought in our wildest dreams that we would ever, become the size of the company what we became and everything like that. Like in 2015, we had 50 people, I think, between America and Australia and the UK. I think now they have 450, and they still don't have enough people.
So that's like 3x.
Yeah. And now it's like a market cap of $1 billion and everything like that. And in your wildest dreams, we would never have thought that it'd be so successful as what it has been.
You couldn't, man. Like, from where you come from, as like a dude in the back of your dad's radiator shop, making radiators for people's bikes and speedway cars.
Yeah.
Like, you can't ever imagine that it's going to be worth $1 billion.
No, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And, you just look at, you look at the guys who have been there. Like, I've got guys there. There's still guys there now. There was a guy there who worked for my dad for about at K&J, and worked for him for about 10 years. And I reckon he's been at PWR for over 20 years now. He's probably worked for our family for like 35 years. And then I look at the guys, the young kids when we were starting out, they come in school-based apprenticeship and stuff like that. And there's probably, over between 10 and 20 guys that started off as apprentices there. And they've been there for over 20 years. And it's just nuts. Like I think of the loyalty of people that we've had.
Which I think that speaks a lot about a company.
Yeah. And, sometimes you'll get people come in and they'll last a week or 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And you get other people, they come in and they last forever and they become like family.
Yeah.
And, I think one of the biggest things that businesses misstep is that, owners, if they don't treat people properly, and that you don't get the return. You know, if you don't put the effort into the people won't put the effort in.
Yeah. And
I think that's one of the biggest things with PWR that we did was we treated it as a family. And, you know, it's probably, unfortunately, one of the hardest things going into a public company, and that family sort of element goes away a fair bit because of all the public company bullshit that you have to have and the hoops that you have to jump over and all that sort of stuff. And but that's why I think PWR was so successful at, you know, and still is successful, because, you know, like if I was, you know, I went to Daytona for a tyre test for Super Speedway, and I was there for a day. I flew from Australia, landed that night, Daytona the next day, the night after I flew out, and I was back in Orlando waiting for my flight, and I got a phone call from a team, and they go, "Oh, we've just had 3 coolers fail." And I'm like, "It's not possible." Anyway, next day, at second day of the test, the new coolers that they put in failed. So I landed back in Australia. I rang 2 guys or 3 guys, and it was Australia Day. And so I landed back in Australia at 6 a.m., drove to the factory on the way back past from the airport in Brisbane, and we were there all day designing and building a new radiator to go, because we had 30 radiators sitting there. That spec in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And another 2 weeks later, they had the Daytona 500. So that spec what we'd done was no good.
Yeah.
So done that, drove back, and I think my wife had been at an Australia Day party or whatever, and I picked her up, and some guy goes, "Oh, where have you been?" I said, "I've been at work." "Oh, that's un-Australian." And I'm like, "Yeah, mate, that's why I'm where I am, and that's why you're here."
Yeah.
Because it didn't make a difference what day it was for us. If we had an issue, we would fix it.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why PWR is so successful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that like legit graph that you just have.
Drive. And, you know, you put that into your business, and then you sort of integrate that into your people.
Yeah, you build it into the culture.
Into the culture of the business. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what it is. You know, like if we won on a Sunday, everyone won. It didn't make a difference what you did. If you cleaned the toilets, you know, or as an accountant, you're in the factory, or, you know, a welder or a designer or an engineer, everyone won. And that was a big thing. And I don't know if you ever had been to the factory.
No, I haven't. Rones has been in there because he shot all that content.
And, yeah, you look up around the walls, and, you know, there's, you know, photos of, you know, Daytona 500s and Formula One and, you know, sports cars and supercars and off-road cars, and, you know, there's big sayings on the walls, and, you know, inspirational, you know, sayings and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, sort of like similar to walking into a NASCAR a shop, you know, because they're very religious type of people over in Charlotte. And, you know, that's, you know, that type of thing. And it's just, you know, to try to celebrate with the people that are working for you or with you to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
And it's like a race team.
Yeah.
You know, whatever we achieve, whatever Toby and I achieve on the racetrack,
it's for everyone.
It's for everyone, because without everyone, we can't get there. And that's, you know, that's where I think a lot of businesses and where a lot of race teams go wrong.
Yeah.
Because without the guy who's doing the shittest job in the team, you're nowhere.
The chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's the way I think about it. And, you know, I think about with, you know, what we're doing now.
It's just the same ethos and the same culture. It's
the same over and over again.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think with what we achieved with PWR was more than anything in my wildest dreams. And probably, actually probably haven't even asked my old man. And it probably is even more in his wildest dreams. Like when he goes, "Oh, well, we should float," I'm like, who'd want to buy shares in a radiator company? That's what I said, you know. And York now, and you go, shit.
A lot of people.
A lot of people did.
But before we get into this podcast, we have some breaking news. Manscaped now offers beard products, and they are available in your country. It's time to tame your mane, so say goodbye to all your stubble trouble with Manscaped's new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. They have created 4 dermatologist-tested formulations for your post-trim care. First, there is the beard shampoo and conditioner, the beard balm that shapes, styles, moisturizes, and tames for a sculpted look. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard, so no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. The Beard Pro Kit also comes with 3 free gifts, a beard brush, comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is always ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code GYPSYGANG at manscaped.com. Manscaped Beard Hedger. 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths. It's funny. I tell people, even with the podcast, I try and tell people, and I just don't know if they understand or like if they get it when I say it, but I'm like, it's kind of like having a race team.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like to be successful in racing, there's a certain mentality and a certain like headspace you have to occupy.
Yeah.
And I got lucky as a kid. Like when I started working with race teams, I was probably like 21.
Yeah.
And so I was very lucky to move over here with Jay and Derek Reinenberg.
Yeah.
And like, so they owned ATF.
Yep.
So then you got Derek Reinenberg, who's like massively successful Australian businessman.
Yeah.
And then his son, who became one of my best friends. And I just got to be around like such an elite level of people and an elite level of thinking.
Yeah.
And then you're around a race team that they were just like fucking all in.
Yep.
Everything that they did was they'd spend $500,000 on their fucking wiring harness.
Yeah.
And they'd like fly dudes over from France, and it was just every single thing that it took, and then it's like I took that attitude into my film career, and I just wanted to do things that were never done before. And I was just always pushing and always like, I don't know, it's just like a weird level of detail and attention that you pay to like progression and going forwards.
Yeah.
And then to carry into this, like we go so far above and beyond what everyone else does.
Yeah.
And it's not stuff that you can see, but you can at the same. Like I always use the analogy of a photo, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be a photographer to know that a photo is best of a person when the eyes are in focus.
Yeah.
But like they might not be able to tell you that's why it's a good photo.
Yeah.
Versus another one.
Yeah.
But quality is real, and quality is like a sum of its parts type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I just have this philosophy that, and I tell people, man, the podcast is like running a race team. There's all these different elements. You're just making 1% gains in every single area you can.
Yeah.
Are the hard drives good? Is the editing good? Are we doing it quick enough? Like we used to, like right now, the audio that's getting fed into that computer, all the effects, all the compression, all the denoising, all the gate already done.
Yeah.
Year ago, wasn't like that.
Yeah, so you'd have to be doing that work.
Yep. We build databases. Yeah. We just do like all this fucking crazy shit no one sees. It's all behind the scenes, and it's all for a reason. Yeah. And it's like, you could not do it. Of course you could not do it.
Exactly.
But that's not, even if you can't see it in the moment, even if you can't feel it, that's not right. That's not quality. That's not the best way.
Yeah.
And I think when you come from racing and you've been around that type of mentality, it's like that is the mentality that it takes to win in everything. Business, life, relationships, friendships, everything.
And it's the same sort of thing too. Like, you look at exactly what you're doing. Why you're successful is because you put the effort in to your podcast. You put the effort in to having the right equipment. You put the effort into having the right people. You do the research. You do this. You do all the things that you need to do to be successful. And as you said, it's no different to building a radiator or designing a car or racing a car or going racing with a team in Mexico. You know, and it's funny. It's like we get all these guys. Toby and I get these guys from that we race against in Australia, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we want to do it," and da da da. We want to come over, and we're like, well, why don't you come over and do it? And I think, you know, fortunately for us is that we're the only guys that had the balls to come here and race, you know, and put our balls on the line.
Yeah.
Because we could turn around, like we could have turned around after burning the cars down and looked like a right dick. You know, like even last year, we didn't finish a race until the 1,000 last year. And, you know, we looked like dickheads. And we could have turned around and gone, oh yeah, take our bat and ball and fuck off home.
Yeah.
But we didn't. We had the balls to keep on going and keep on doing it because we want to do it and we knew that we could win. And it was a matter of time. And this whole thing, a story about, well, people have done that their whole life down there and they've never won. And you go, well, yeah, it only took us 2 years and probably $3 million, but we won.
Yeah.
But that's our goal. That was our goal. We wanted to achieve, you know, you put aside the money, it doesn't make a difference, you know. But we weren't going to give up. And that's, I think, the best thing about our country, where we come from, Australia, is that we got that attitude of, hey, we ain't going to give up. We're tenacious. You know, we want to win. We want to do well. We want to show the world of how good we are. And it doesn't make a difference. You know, you look at our Formula One drivers, you look at our MotoGP riders, you look at our Supercross riders, you know, you look at the Lawrence brothers, you look at Chad Reed, you know, you look at, you know, going back, Andrew McFarlane, you know, Casey, you know, Mick Doohan, Darryl Beattie, you know, the Wayne Gardner, the list of, you know, of them, Alan Jones. You know, we're a little island that hasn't got the support like Europe does or America does.
Yeah, we shouldn't make it.
We shouldn't make it because we don't have the companies with the budgets to be able to, you know, oh, this kid wants to be in Formula One. Okay, well, Chozan Yu or whatever the guy's name is, and he gets like $30 million from the government.
That's wild, eh?
You know, to go to pay for his drive.
Yeah.
You know, that type of thing. We don't have that in Australia.
Man, you talked to Danny about the early years in like the Red Bull Academy. I don't know whether it was Red Bull Academy or like whatever it was that he did before F1. Yeah. He's like, man, all the Euro kids were like out partying, living the life. They were like fully, he's like, the difference between me and the kids that I was with that didn't make it is they thought they already made it.
Exactly.
And he's like, bro, the years that I was in that development era before I got into F1, he's like, I was a fucking monk. Yep. I didn't do shit. I did every fucking workout. I ate the food. I weighed the exact weight they told me to. I didn't go out. I didn't hang out with girls. I did nothing. Yeah. But this.
And that's because he wanted it.
Yeah. And because he couldn't get it any other way.
Anywhere else.
There was no one giving him 30 mil.
And that's the biggest disadvantage that we have, I think, as Aussies, is that, you know, you look at the, well, let's say Aussies in New Zealand, okay? You look at Liam Lawson. Look at Shane Van Gisberg. Yeah. Greg Murphy, you know, those type of, Bruce McLaren. Yeah. You know, like, yeah, you go back into that era and you know, Jack Brabham, you know, like there was definitely no money for motorsport back in those days. And, you know, that's where I just love, you know, coming and doing what we're doing because we're doing it our way. It might not be, you know, it might not be the flashes and we might not have the newest chase truck. And like one of my chase trucks has got like 300,000 miles on it. It's a Chevy. And the thing still runs like a gem, you know. Yeah. And it's got 300,000 miles on it. And I was saying to the boys this week, I'm going, oh, we might have to look at maybe getting another chase truck next year because it's got a few too many miles on it now. You know, it's probably got 500,000 Ks on it. You know, so, you know, like we don't have all the flash stuff and that. We spend the money on a race car. We go, we rent a house in Mexico, and that's not the flashless house and all that sort of stuff. But we're there to race, and we're there to do a job, and that's the way that we've always been. Well, I've always been in whatever we've done is we're there to do a job. Let's go and do the job, and then we don't go and drink piss while we're down there and all that sort of stuff. We go and do a job. We'll have a party after. Yeah. That type of thing. We're there to have fun while we're doing it. And that was sort of the thing with PWR. We had so much fun, building that company. A lot of hard work, but the enjoyment levels of succeeding is amazing.
And it has to be, at least in my experience and everything that I've done, it has to be your lifestyle.
Yeah.
I guess there's a point, maybe once you've made it, where you can step back and you can start to enjoy a little bit more maybe, or like take a bit of the pressure off, take a bit of the weight off, take some responsibilities off the shoulders. But man, like there's just a fucking point where you just have to live the shit.
Oh, exactly.
As a racer, as a business owner, like if you want to be successful in something like this or in any kind of business, like put your fucking life on hold.
Exactly right.
And get people around you that are willing to go through it with you, because like there ain't no like get up 9, 5, clock out. I mean, Matty, fuck, he goes hard.
I know.
Like people, Steve's just got in business with him. And the first little stint they did working together, he's like, fuck, he's got a motor.
Yeah.
And like you get up in the morning, Matty's on calls.
Yeah.
Then you go to bed at night, Matty's on calls.
Yeah.
Like you just, to be successful, you have to go so fucking hard.
You got to put the effort in, like doesn't make a difference what it is. You still got to put the effort in. And if you put the effort in and you do it right, and you should be successful. Yeah. Sure, you might have, people go, oh, you're lucky or whatever. I hate that word lucky. Yeah. Because, I don't think that you fall on shit, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just lucky. Yeah. But if you put the effort in.
Well, there's so many there is luck, but there's different types of luck, right? So there's, you think about like a deep sea diver, right? Yeah. So you spend your whole life diving.
Yep.
And then you become the best deep sea diver in the world. And then someone finds a sunken treasure ship.
Yep.
That you're the only person that can dive that deep.
Yeah.
Is that luck?
No.
It's luck in one sense.
Yeah.
Because that guy came to you. But when you're the only one in the world that can do it,
exactly.
like PWR radiators, and you're the only one in the world that can make these radiators that good, you might be lucky that you do all 12 teams on the grid, but you're really not that lucky.
No, exactly. And it's, I think the big thing is for what we're doing in everything that we're doing is the massive amount of effort, and that doesn't come from just one person.
Yeah,
it comes from numerous people, and it doesn't make a difference if it's a race team. We got 6 or 7 or 8 guys, and they all put the same amount of effort in.
Yeah,
and you saying about how hard, like your brother, how hard he goes, and it was funny. Steve was in Mexico with us the first time, and I think Steve got a little bit tired the first time, and it's just because you're going all the time. It doesn't make, like in the mornings we might be up at 5 o'clock and already on the road, and we're in a pre-runner all day.
Yeah,
and then we might break down out there. We might
you get a flat tire. Guess who's got to change it? Us.
We might get home at 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
you might have only eaten a sandwich or a Snickers.
Yeah,
you go to bed. Like we finished the race on Saturday night at 6 o'clock or whatever, 5:30. By the time we got back to the house, it was just after 7. We had a hamburger. We packed up the trucks. We went to the border, and it was like we left Ensenada at 10:30 or whatever. We got to the border at 12:30.
Yeah.
We got through the border at 3:30, and by the time we got to the workshop, unloaded everything, got to the hotel and hopped into bed, it was 10 to 5 on Sunday morning. We'd been going basically 24 hours.
Yeah.
But
is what it is.
That's what we did.
I always like to, and I use it to remind myself too, because sometimes you just don't feel like fucking doing it.
Yeah.
But 3 words: stay in it.
Yeah.
That's just what you got to do. Just
Exactly.
fucking stay in it, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
Otherwise, no one else is going to do it for you.
No.
No one's going to change the flat. No one's going to,
No.
you know, all those challenges, they're yours.
Yeah, and that's right, and that's the biggest thing, and it's easy to go, oh fuck it, we'll go tomorrow.
Yeah,
We'll do that later or whatever.
yeah,
And that like these chase guys, they'll be up until 1, 2 in the morning, whatever time, and they're up at 6 o'clock.
yeah.
Yeah, sure, they're tired, but
Stay in it.
they're staying in it, you know.
So how close were you in 08 to not selling everything and going, fuck this? Was there ever a thought?
No,
Because, bro, that's hectic.
no, not at all. There's no thought whatsoever.
Really?
And that because, you know, one of my biggest sort of pet hates are bank managers.
I bet.
Okay, and I've dealt with a lot of them over time. And that with PWR and then after PWR now. And it was just a big fuck you to the guy. And it'd be funny. I'd find it funny, and I think my old man would find it funny too, if we ever could find that guy, and just go, oh yeah, mate, look at the mistake you made.
Send him the market cap.
Yeah, look at the mistake. You know, because then we changed banks, and the guy that we got was like all about manufacturing, loved the story, loved the business, and you know, like it was funny because we were at the NAB. We went to the Commonwealth Bank, and the guy at Commonwealth Bank who's still in banking now, he's actually at the NAB again, he was trying to get the business back off the Commonwealth. But yeah, like really good dude. He believed in Keys and I, you know, which is weird for a bank manager, you know, because usually they're just dicks. And that, but you know, like like at the end of the day, if we had to just gone, oh well, fuck it would have been a whole different story.
Because that's $3 million is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then, so you guys had to sell all your houses.
We sold everything we had, you know, houses, buildings, everything. You know, we lived off basically minimum wage for that time, you know.
With a kid on the way.
Yeah, with a kid on the way and everything like that. You know, I think at a stage Emma was working still, you know, all that sort of stuff. We lived off whatever, you know, bare minimum really. You know, like we never went without and all that sort of stuff. But we done it, you know, there was like a stage of, okay, it's going to be a stage of 12 to 18 months where it's going to be tough. And if we don't put in, we're not going to get through it. So what's your option? The option's not to give up. And especially when we knew basically what we had.
What was the most enjoyable time? Because so you eventually kind of like stepped out of like the operational side of it. What was the most enjoyable era of PWR?
I think probably more so the start.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
When it was small, it was really enjoyable. You know, a small group of people were all sort of similar age, you know, early 20s, all that sort of stuff, you know, like just having fun, worked hard. You know, we'd go out and get on the piss on Friday night. We'd be at work at 7 o'clock on Saturday morning doing a half a day, and you'd be like, oh, fuck. But you
all telling war stories the night before.
But you worked hard. You know, you sort of 18, 19, 20, you know, you party hard and that, but you still worked. And we grew the business and stuff like that. Like I have a mate of mine now going, he's into rotaries, and anyway, he loves rotaries and all that. And I go, oh, those freaking shit boxes and da-da-da. He goes, hey. He said, all those wogs made you a lot of money.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably built 1,000 radiators for those things.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny, like you do, it's one like perspective that I tried to keep early days. I mean, obviously, we got heaps to go, you know, but early days, I'd always try and have the perspective of like one day you're going to look back at this bit as the best bit.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and try and always keep that mentality because like it's always pretty fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like it's never really. I mean, it's funny, dude. First, I had like a weird feeling before the fire in Australia.
Yeah.
I actually had a dream that we were gonna have a fire.
Really?
2 nights before. Yeah, I had a fucking Stark that I got.
Yeah.
And I was leaving it at the warehouse.
Yeah.
And 2 nights before it, I fucking crashed the thing. I need to show you the video, bro. So I'm doing a wheelie and I'm fucking pinned. And I just it doesn't make any noise. I just didn't realize how fast I was going.
Yeah.
And I've gone, I'm not going to stop here. And I've just put it down and just cartwheeled into the roller door.
Oh, God.
And so I hurt my arm and I couldn't load it on the back of my truck.
Yeah.
So I left it there that night. That was on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I went home and had a dream that the fucking
That
warehouse
night.
burned down.
Yeah.
And it was 2 days later.
Yes.
And Rones calls me at 6 a.m. He's like, bro, the fucking warehouse is gone.
Yeah.
And so I immediately, no one knew why or like what had happened.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I cannot fucking believe this. Because I was like, it's the Stark burnt the thing down. Anyway, we get there and they've rolled it out the front. Like the firefighters managed to get it out. So it wasn't that.
Oh, it wasn't the Stark.
Yeah. But
Okay.
but it was like before, I just had a weird feeling because I was like talking to people and saying, when everyone, you get home, you haven't been home for a fucking year or whatever.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, how you going? And I'm like, mate, honestly, like life's actually great. This is like the best life's ever been.
Yeah.
And I felt weird saying it.
I know. It's
Because I'm like, oh, fuck, it can't stay like this.
Yeah.
Life's not supposed to be easy.
No, I know. And it's funny. Like I've always, like I grew up basically on the Gold Coast. Okay. So I lived there from when I was 6 or whatever it was. I moved to Melbourne for a year when I was racing Supercars because the team was based down there. And then, so about 18 months ago, I said to Emma, my wife, I said, well, this horse thing, I said, we need to be moving down to the Southern Highlands where we live now. And I said, the best coach in Australia is down there. And if you want to keep on doing the stuff, it's too hot up here for the horses in Queensland. And if you want to keep on doing it, and Abby's really getting good at it, and she needs to be where the best coach is and that. And so I just went and bought a place down there. And she's like, oh, I don't know if I want to move. And the 2 kids, Abby and me, were like, hey, yeah, we want to move. And that. And so it was just, us. And that was the first time that we've actually been as a family, just the 4 of us somewhere.
Yeah,
and not knowing really anyone. We knew a couple people
without your support.
Yeah, without your support
and your family.
without your friends.
Yep.
And like the hardest thing is probably you miss your friends a lot.
Yeah.
Because you just go out for dinner on a Friday night or a Wednesday or whatever, and everything.
And you've worked so hard to get to the point where you can just like kind of quote unquote enjoy life.
Yeah, and moving down there has been one of the best things for our family because it's simplified life. And we spent more time together.
Yeah.
Even though, I think I'll look at this year, I will spend 25 weeks out of Australia. Between like after the Baja 500, I spent 6 weeks in Europe.
What were you doing there? Oh, with the horses.
With horses, and then with business. I have a business partner, and we build high rises on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And so we went and looked at stone and marble and stuff like that to get it, directly out of Turkey, and we went to Italy, and we found some really good stuff there. And we just time, like I had a week here after the race. I went to the Sonoma to the NASCAR race.
Oh, yeah.
Then I flew to Germany. We had a week and a half in Germany. Turkey for a week. Mallorca, Turkey for a week and a half. And then a few days in Italy. And then we went to Ibiza for about 4 days, which probably was a bad move.
I've heard that place carries on a bit.
Carries on a little bit, yes. And but very fun.
Yeah.
And by the time I got home, it was like 9 weeks, and I'm like, oh God. And then before I know it, I'm back here again.
Yeah.
We look at now, like we're going home tonight, and we're back in 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
What was it hard to, when you did step away from PWR and like the more operations role, was it tough? Like, because it's not like you guys come from money.
No.
You just grafted, and then all of a sudden you're worth a fucking squillion dollars.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of step away from the company, but you're still a young dude with plenty going on. Like, was that a hard period of time in a way to like get a bit of direction again?
Yeah, it was a little bit, because you sort of lose your. It's funny, like when you're used to working every single day, and going to work at 6 o'clock in the morning and coming home at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or working till whatever time it takes to get what you're getting done, to not having to be anywhere. It's you sort of lose you lose your purpose a little bit.
Yeah.
And that happened for a while. You lose your purpose a little bit. At the end of the day, the money doesn't make a difference. Yeah. Really. It depends on the person, I suppose. But
did you find that out? Like, you got to a point where you realised that money wasn't going to make you...
No, money doesn't make you happy. It just creates more problems, really.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
There's probably a curve.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's a sweet spot, and then anything more actually does make more problems.
Yeah, exactly. And, hey, look, we're fortunate enough to be able to go and race what we're doing. And, we've got a nice house, nice property. We can afford to go on holidays and everything like that. We're very fortunate with all that sort of stuff. But, it's just, I think people get to a stage of they stop what they're doing, and it's like an athlete, okay? They stop what they're doing. They stop training every day. They stop eating properly every day, and they stop doing whatever they need to be doing every day as that athlete. Yeah. And they lose their purpose because they don't know what to do, or they haven't got someone telling them what to do every day. And so they either go, there's two different ways. They succeed, or they go into depression, or they go wild and go off the rails. Yeah. And so that was probably one of the things in life was, you sit at home on the couch and you go, well, what do I do? Because the thing for me was, what's it been, nearly 10 years now we've floated. I was 35.
Yeah, that's wild. So you're pretty much my age when you...
Pretty much so.
Fuck.
And, none of my mates, all my mates worked.
Yeah, they're still just grafting.
So you just you can't ring up on a Wednesday at 12 o'clock and go, hey, do you want to go to the pub for a cannery? That type of thing. So that's the biggest thing, and everything. And it's probably been getting back into motorsport. Yeah, has probably been a blessing in that it's giving me something to do again. Even though my mind is active with now more so. First few years I've done nothing, but now with business business wise again, with building high rises and doing developments and stuff like that, it makes it
kind
active.
of scratches the itch, and then the racing side of it definitely scratches the itch. And I go, I look at it and I go, well, what do I want to do? How much longer do I want to do this for? And, the thing is for me is what I think is, there's certain goals. Like the goal was to come here to Baja and win. Yeah. We've achieved one of them. We've won, but we haven't achieved the ultimate goal, which is 1,000. And then my other one is, to do Dakar. It's a bucket list race. But, are you going to turn up by doing one race and compete against factory teams? No. Unless you're in a factory car, you go compete properly. No. So that's the other one where we've got to work out of where we're at. And hopefully Toby gets something there, this year, if not next year. And, there's sort of a learning thing there. So that we can see a path of, go and watch and see and look and learn and see of what that is. But that's more of a goal of wanting to go and compete at Dakar. Yeah. But compete, not just make up numbers, compete. Yeah. And,
that's, sort of, to me, if we do this trophy truck thing for another couple of years, that's cool, but we got to win. And if we tick all the boxes and win, then that goal is done.
Yeah.
Then what's the next? And then I think, for me, is, to put in the effort into being able to help my daughter achieve her goals.
Yeah.
And put in that effort, for our family to achieve those goals. And you look at, use the Deegan family, as an example. That family is trying to achieve goals for their kids.
Yeah. And they're all doing it together.
Yeah. And they're not, I don't think they're wankers about it from what I can see from the outside. And I think that, it's hats off to them, because they're doing it. And, do they have to do it? They probably don't. Are the kids talented enough to get there without that? They probably are.
Mm.
But,
there's like joy in doing it together.
There's a joy in doing it togetgether.
Yeah.
And that's what I think as a family, it's an ultimate.
Yeah.
You look at your family.
Mm.
Look at you guys when you go and race, motorbikes together and go and, do a 12-hour or, 8-hour race or whatever it may be as a team together.
Yeah.
You got your mum there, you got Matty V, you got the old boy spannering, it's an enjoyment.
Yeah.
And I think, ultimately, if that's what you can do with your family, you've won.
Yeah.
Whatever
level.
In life, it doesn't make a difference, the level.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you've won in life. And that's, that's a big tick. And I suppose that's all what we're after, isn't it?
Yeah. So have you always had, you're just been a goal-driven person? Like you you just like have a goal, work to the goal, tick it off the box, and then move the goalpost just like that little bit further.
Yeah, pretty much so. I think my biggest thing in life is that if people tell me that you can't do it,
makes you really want to.
It makes you really want to do it.
Yeah.
It was funny. I had a dude message me after this race on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I don't know where he was from. I can't remember the guy's name. He messaged me and he goes, "Wow, you surprised me." And I'm like, just thinking. It started off that, and he's like, "You can really drive. I never thought you could drive, but you just shown today that you could really drive." And that's the thing. Like that gets me is that, that's what you want to prove people wrong.
Mm.
Because there's so many people out there, and it doesn't make a difference if it's what you do. Oh yeah, Jason's no good at whatever, and that, or Toby. Oh yeah, Toby's no good. He can't do that. He breaks cars, or he does this, does that, and that. They have no idea, and they haven't got the balls to be able to do it. But they're good on a computer. They can type shit. You know what I mean?
Plenty of them.
Plenty of them. So it's always nice to. It was actually cool to get a message like that. I got that last night from the dude, and I'm like, that's actually pretty cool.
Mm.
This guy's taken time to send me a message and say, "Hey, well done." And
you had to feel that after the 500.
Yeah.
Because you're the dude that crossed the finish line.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
until then, you hadn't even been in the fucking car.
No,
and it's
know.
like everyone. Like the thing is too, you can look up your company what it's worth.
Yeah.
So there's people where you don't really know how much money they got. You're like, he's a pretty wealthy dude, but it's like you've got a public company.
Yeah.
As a result, everyone can be like, yeah, he's got a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
So it's like very easy to look at you as like, oh, look at this guy just paying for this shit.
Yeah.
You cannot fake driving the last half of the Baja 500 to win the race.
Oh, exactly. And funny, we know that. I know that, you know that, our team knows that, and everyone that we deal with who helps us over here knows that. But you know what people are like. It's just, the days of someone telling it to your face.
They're done.
They're done. They won't tell it to your face. It's like even people years ago on forums when we first started PWR, they go, "Oh, yeah, buy your shit from China." I'd go out to the factory and I'd take photos and send them to them and go, "Here's our factory.
Brother, I'll walk through the front door."
Oh, that's in China. I said, so all the Australians are in China, are they? You know, like this stupid shit like that. It's just like, you're like, you're such fucking dicks.
Yeah.
You know?
What was it like in Supercars? We haven't even spoken.
No, we haven't spoken Supercars. Supercars was cool.
It was that same attitude.
It was that attitude. It was very political. Supercars are very, very political. Very political in sponsorship wise. Very political in manufacturing, as in the manufacturers, so Holden and Ford. Very political, and you know, like I raced Supercars for 10 years.
Fuck, was it 10 years?
10 years. When I had my accident at Bathurst was 10. Yeah, from 98 to 2008. Yeah, and so end of 2000.
And that was like the GFC.
Yeah, so end of 2005, I stopped racing full time, and just done the enduros. And then in 2008, I had the big crash at Bathurst where I got hit in practice.
You didn't get hit.
I got nailed.
You got fucking
drilled,
smashed.
Yes. And I was very, very fortunate to
that's crazy
to live in that. And
what like physically what happened in that?
So I split my spleen. No
way.
I broke my L1 to L5, fractured, and punctured lung.
That is such a huge impact. With a roll cage.
With a roll cage.
In a safety harness, with a helmet.
Yes.
Like as safe as you could make that car.
Yeah.
Almost died.
Exactly. And
do you remember it?
I remember getting hit. I remember going into the ambulance, but I don't remember the trip down the mountain. But I remember being in the medical centre, and I remember having to wait. We were holding the helicopter up because my wife was in Orange, and so they had I stayed at my mate's house, Tim Lay, in Orange, and so I used to stay there before the race and then come down the race week, and then my wife Emma would go and stay with his wife, and then come over on the Saturday or whatever it was for the race, basically Sunday, and they had the TV on. Had it on the TV and had the TV on mute, and they were walking past the TV, getting ready. They were going out to a winery because
it's just practice.
So they were going out for a winery on Friday, and anyway, Emma's getting phone calls and she's getting ready or whatever, and Tim, she finally answers, and Tim goes, "You need to get your ass here now." Oh, why? What for? We're going for lunch. He goes, "Get in the car, get in now, as fast as you can." And so they knew nothing of it until Tim rang because the TV was turned off. And so we were waiting for her to get to the track so that the helicopter would take me to Sydney to Westmead. And they had no passes or anything like that. And somehow they just drove straight through, she straight to the medical centre and straight on the helicopter. And when we got to Sydney, and she was telling me how good of a view was of the Blue Mountains and all that shit. And I was looking at the fucking roof of the helicopter, and I'm like, "That's great."
Good to know.
Yeah,
honey.
Great to know. Thanks for that. And then they pull me out of the helicopter and wheel me out, and she's like, "Oh, hang on, let's get a photo." And I'm like, "For fuck's sake, let's not get a photo.
I'm dying."
Yeah, let's get a photo in emergency. And this dude stuck his finger up my ass, didn't even get his name.
Didn't even buy a drink.
Didn't even buy me a drink. Didn't even exchange numbers.
That's
Nothing.
New South Wales for you.
I know, exactly. Disgusting they are. But, like it's, that thing. And what actually happened was I was in spinal and neuro in Westmead, which is really like very good hospital. And the doctor come in, or physio come in about 2 days later and said, "Oh, have you been up and about?" And I said, "No." I said, "Mate, I can't move. Like I'm, just so sore, I can't move." And, I was purple and orange and red and, yellow down around my back and down each side of my package. And so he's like, "Oh, we got to get you up and get you rehabilitated." And hopped up, tried to take one step and just screaming. And he's like, "Something's not right." Anyway, so he lie back down. So he went and got the X-rays. Went to the spinal surgeon, and who was on call that day, and a spinal surgeon comes in and goes, yeah, the reason why you're screaming is you've broken your L1 to L5, and they missed it in intensive care when I come through in emergency.
Which happens a lot.
Yeah. And so anyway, so that was that, and then he's like, oh, you can go home, and I'm like, oh, well, can I fly? And he's like, no, you can't because you nicked your lung. And we're like, what about a helicopter at a low level or whatever? You know, everything. Nah, you got to drive. And so Emma had to drive home, and she hit every pothole on the way home from Brisbane to Sydney to the Gold Coast. I swear, on purpose.
Surely.
Yeah, had to be. But no, but you know, like and that was a supercar thing that ended it then. That was the end of it.
And so like that crash, GFC.
Yeah.
Just put the pin in it.
Yeah, and we were sort of getting out. We wanted to get out like end of 2005. I think 2006 we had the team sold.
Oh.
And it fell through.
Huh. Who was buying it?
John Marshall. Marcus Marshall's old man. And it fell through at the end when he didn't turn up with the check at the lawyer's office.
Mm.
And
just stood you up.
Yeah, stood us up.
Wow.
It was very nice of him.
How much was that going to be worth?
I think it was like 8 million or something.
Yeah.
At the time. Yeah. So like supercars used to be.
Yeah, it was big business back then.
It was big business back then. You know, like you get good money from it was a Vesco back then, who put the races on, and like we used to get $1 million a car back then per car.
And that was from the promoter.
Yeah, from the promoter. It was TV money basically.
Yeah, right.
So it was appearance money, and like we ran in 2003 when we ran Team Brock, with Jason Bright and myself driving. I think we ran 2 cars on $3 million, and we finished second in the championship.
Really?
Yeah, Jason finished second in the championship. 2004, he could have won the championship, but didn't win the second again or third, and that was a Marcus Ambrose era.
Yep.
And all that sort of stuff. So you know, like it was, you know, for what we'd done, it's sort of like what we're doing now. We're a small team. We punched above our weight. We spent the money in the right areas, and we had a crack.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what we've done the whole time in motorsport.
And you'd never been in supercars without a team. Like that was your first thing. You're like, I'm getting a team and I'm going to drive the car.
Exactly. Well, basically when we started, we went and bought a Ford because it was the cheapest one we could buy. The second-hand race car, supercar, and we just done it ourselves out of our factory at Currumbin. And we had 3 or 4 people, and we were just a privateer. And then in 2002, I drove with Marcus Ambrose for Stone Brothers at the 500 and the 1,000.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the Enduros. And
How did that come about?
We used to be pretty close with Jimmy and Ross Stone at the time, and we ran pretty good at the Enduros. We were pretty good in the Enduros, and that, like Bathurst, our first Bathurst, we finished 9th, and as a private tier team.
Yeah, which is massive.
Which was massive back then, and you know we just always ran pretty good in the longer races.
Yeah,
and we done a test day with them, and they're like, yeah, well, let's do a deal. And so we did that, and so we put 2 guys in our car who paid to drive Bathurst, and so our team still ran, and we were leading the race, and we had a tyre blow or something. We had 2 tyres blow all up, and that cost us a race. It was a camber issue or something like that. And then 2003, we actually swapped to Holden. We had done a deal with Holden to be a third team.
I think that's the era that I remember.
Yeah, so third team at HSV.
Yep.
So with Tom Walkinshaw.
And the big PWR on the side.
Big PWR was 2004.
Okay.
2003 was Team Brock.
So
we owned the team. We had the two franchises for the team. We ran the team, and we had Brocky there, which was interesting. And that he was a different type of dude.
Really?
Yeah, very different. Very spiritual and herbal and
really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
We didn't know that.
Yeah.
Just like kind of one of those eccentric kind of characters.
Very much so.
Really?
Very much so. But like you look
Was
at,
that common knowledge? Were many people like close enough
a lot
with
of
him?
things that Brocky done wasn't common knowledge.
Yeah, okay.
And that. But you know what? You look at the sport and you look at guys like Dick Johnson, you look at Peter Brock, you look at Mark Scaife and Craig Lowndes, and the heroes of the sport. Of people grew up watching those guys go, and it was funny because it was when Brocky finished, he hadn't raced for a fair few years, and you'd go to an autograph signing session with him, and it would be like my age now, 45, sort of 40-year-olds or 50, and they'd have a little kid who's like 10, and the kid's never seen the guy race, but Dad has installed in him that that guy was the best ever.
Yeah.
But it's like that in every sport and everywhere.
It's that Senna in F1.
It's Senna in F1, exactly.
Yeah.
But you look at the following that he had was just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that was like literally me. Dad was like, Peter Brock's the man. Peter Brock's the man.
Yeah.
Best car driver ever.
And if you were a Ford person, it was Dick Johnson.
Yep.
And it's just amazing. How that parents install that into their kids. It's
It was
like
such like a
football teams.
cultural thing.
Yeah,
in
it's
Australia.
like football teams in Australia.
Yep.
Okay, we go for Collingwood, and that's all we go for. You're out of a house if you're going for someone else. That type of thing. But so like that era of supercars was really, really good. But it's just then you get all the bullshit and the political stuff, and it takes the enjoyment out of racing.
Yeah.
Because you got to put up with all the bullshit. You look at like Marcus Ambrose. He wanted to go and race. That's all he wanted to do was race. He didn't want to have to deal with all the other bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doing the
Casey's a lot like that too.
Casey's like that.
Just give it. I always say to people, Casey's the kind of guy, like actually, you can say this, like people can say this. He would race for a MotoGP world title with nobody there.
Yeah.
Just the dudes on the grid.
Exactly.
And not a photo, not a broadcast, not an autograph, not a press conference.
Yeah.
Just, I want to fucking race.
Yeah.
I want to be the best. I don't want any of the other shit.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And that's, that was like Ambrose. That's like Van Gisberg.
Oh, bro, he's like that for sure.
And that's why
Verstappen.
And that's why I think, like Ambrose succeeded over here in NASCAR. He was he was the first to do it properly.
Mm-hmm.
Shane will succeed here because he's so talented, and he loves racing.
Yeah, that's all he cares about.
Who 38 race weekends.
Is that how much the NASCAR guys are doing?
Something like that.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's crazy, eh? The amount of just time away and just like how in it you got to be.
And that's just what they're, but he loves racing. And then he's talking about going back to New Zealand at Christmas and going race speed cars or dirt, sprint cars or whatever.
Yeah.
The dude loves racing, and that's where supercars just got to the stage of the enjoyment isn't there.
And it was just purely like the series asking too much of guys, or like
it's just the political side of it, and because you're not really just a driver, you own the team as well. Keys and I own the team, so we, you deal with the bullshit from the team side of things, the people side of things, the sponsors, the everything, and it's like, what, this is not enjoyable. I got a business, let's go and do that.
Yeah.
And that's why, at the end of the day, that's why we got our supercars.
It had to do a lot for the brand though, because even I remember PWR.
Yeah, it did a lot for the brand, a massive amount in Australia for the brand, and it probably made the brand to start with in Australia because it was on TV all the time.
Yeah, I remember it
everyone,
as a little kid.
Yeah, and everyone, ran PWR products in the race cars. They're controlled. Well, now in the series, it's a control product.
Really? So you guys supply that?
Supply everything. Same as NASCAR. Every series in NASCAR's control product, which is PWR. And there's, DTM is control product, PWR. There's numerous ones, which I don't really know now because I'm not in the business all the time. But, the amount of stuff that we did, and it was like, well, okay, that stage, let's get down, knuckle down, and go for gold.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
Yeah. Is it cool that you got to work with your dad all these years? Like, you guys seem like you have such a unique relationship.
Yeah, we have a love-hate relationship sometimes, and it's probably better that now that we don't.
Yeah.
But we work pretty well together.
Well, you have to.
We work pretty well. Look at what you did. Yeah, like it was always, hey, you run the factory, I'll run the front end. Like he ran the front end, I ran the factory, basically.
Yeah.
And, we'd have a little bit of crossover and we'd butt heads and different ideas and different mentalities of how we wanted to achieve stuff. But really, at the end of the day, it was a common goal of just do the best as we could. And we did that. And we worked as hard as we could to achieve that. And it's, now it's, we don't really get to spend as much, we don't spend as much time together because we're not at work. But, for him to be able to come over here is cool, and he loves it and all that sort of stuff. He's been there in the good times and the bad times, and we're sort of the same in life. We've been, through all the good times, the bad times, together as two of us, with family and with everything and all that sort of stuff. And it's, we've got through the other side of all that, and now I've got my own family, and it's you get to see those feelings that you grew up with that you're getting yourself with your own family now. And that, and I look at my old man, and like he's 71, I think, this year, and he's running a business
he's still in it.
That's worth $1 billion. That's got 500 people, 450 to 500 people, and then he's running a farm, a cattle farm. He's got 2 cattle farms, and he's got a citrus farm down in Mildura, and that which he just planted like 380,000 trees on. He doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, mate, you gotta, stop and smell the roses.
Yeah.
But that's just him. That's just what he wants to do. That's what he enjoys.
Yeah. Do you reckon you could understand your dad better the older you got? And then was it even more when you had your own kids?
Yeah, I think the older that I got was the easier it was to understand, each other. And, like there's, now I'll say something and he'll just look at me and just go, I'm like, what? He goes, you can't say that. And I go, well, you used to say that. You've gotten soft, mate.
Yeah.
And he's no, I just got smarter. I'm like, yeah, no, you got fucking soft.
They do get soft as they get older.
Yeah, get older. And, like it's, like I the dude still works for us now. He has an apprenticeship, and he's in there giving him a thing and steel reel, and he got steel reel and whacked him over knuckles, and I grabbed him, and I'm like, dude, you can't do that. We're going to get a fucking lawsuit. Stop. Don't do that shit. Get out.
Yeah.
And the guy still was one of the welders. He still works for us now. And I know he's been there over 20 odd years, but it's just, it's just different. It's everyone ages differently. And
yeah,
I'm probably like him, even though I wouldn't like to admit it, when, like when I was 20, he was, in his, late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
Or late 40s. And, the way he used to speak and carry on or whatever.
You like see yourself in him.
You see a little bit now, and it's different, and then he's different now. So, like it's interesting how as people we all grow and everything like that. And as much as we probably don't want to be like our fathers or, or mothers or whatever, or our family members, you pretty much, are in points in different ways. So it's interesting in that.
Yeah, and it's funny, like I think as I get older and you go through stages of life, like you get married.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you do these things, like you take on these big milestones in your life and you get older as a man. And then I look at things that my dad did, and maybe not even things that my dad did, but like looking at what he had to go through with where he was in life, with, you know, the job that he had, and with just like all those things. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
fuck, I get it.
Yeah.
Like I get why you felt that way, or I get why, you know, that's how it was.
Yeah.
You just have like a bit more perspective as time goes on.
Yeah.
And not like, I don't know, I just feel like I can relate to him in such a different way now, you know?
Yeah. And I think, you know, like it's going to be, you know, like you don't have kids yet, but like, you know, like I had kids when we were quite, well, not young, but, you know, and that, like my daughter's oldest is 14 now, and like another 4 years, she's going to be 18. And, you know, so like I'm still, you know, I'm going to be 50 when she's, well, just under 50 when she's at 18. And it's cool, you know, but because you get to enjoy life with them and get to do shit and still enjoy it, you know. Where, you know, when I was 20, I wouldn't have thought, you know, I look at people who are 50 and I think, oh, yeah, shit, you're old.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah. I'm not far away.
yeah. It's pretty special though, like what you and your dad did together.
Yeah, exactly. It's
not many people have built a $1 billion company with their dad from a fucking shed in the Gold Coast.
Yeah, it's different, you know. Like it's different, and I think at the end of the day, there's certain people that you can work with, and you know, like we had doozies, we'd have doozies, but you know, the next day or.
I feel like that's pretty standard.
Yeah, like you know, mate, like you look at yours.
Bro, me and my dad.
Yeah.
People would like, I remember girlfriends, like when I was dating girls, me and my dad would be like screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes like you'd walk out the door.
Yeah.
And then come back inside.
Yeah.
And then everyone, like my chick would be like fully on eggshells.
Yeah.
And then we just sit down and watch the footy together.
Yeah.
And she'd just be like, what the fuck is going on?
What's happening
I'm like,
here?
nah, this is just how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, this is just normal.
And I think, you know, like if you had a business partner or whatever that you didn't have that relationship with.
It'd make it so much harder.
It's so much harder. And that's, you know, obviously that's where you see a lot of businesses downfall. You know, they split and all that sort of shit. But with your family, you're sort of stuck.
Yeah, you're stuck with each
other. You're stuck, you know.
Yeah.
But like you know, walk out and you next day, you might not talk for a day, or it might be a really good one, might not talk for a couple of days, but, you know, that's just what it was.
Yeah, but I think also, like, you should give yourself a bit more credit because there's so many people that can't work with family or it ruins families and they'll never talk again. And even, like, think about you guys went through racing.
Yeah.
Which that destroys families.
Yes. Yeah.
Business, that destroys families.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, regardless, like, of the blow-ups or whatever, it's like, man, you guys went through shit that can fully put people under in terms of their relationships with
exactly.
family.
Exactly right. So, but he's lucky, isn't he?
He is fucking, he is lucky. But it's such a unique story.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
It's such a cool thing to do. And I mean, I don't know, like maybe as you guys get older, like you'll even get even more perspective on it. But just like from my point of view, and like from knowing, and obviously like Maddie deals with you guys on such a different level. I'm just like, fuck, that's cool what you guys were able to do.
And it's pretty cool. Like my wife, at the moment is she's wanting to do a story of our family story, you know, for so the kids can realize of, you know, what we've achieved as a family and stuff like that, and how we started it and everything. Because basically, you know, the kids were still young when I ended up leaving PWR, and to get a realization for them of, you know, like their life's pretty fucking easy, you know. Like they got it pretty good, you know. They're fortunate, you know, and all that sort of stuff. Which
that's the goal as a parent.
That's the goal as a parent, you know. But for, you know, for us growing up, it wasn't that easy, you know. Like, yeah, we might have had a little bit of money and da-da-da-da. You know, my parents had a good business and that. And so it's more so showing them a story of how you have to work or you have to put in the effort to be successful.
Yeah.
Because if you don't put in the effort, it doesn't make a difference what it is. You're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
And I think these days everyone wants to be successful without putting in the effort and putting in the work.
Yeah.
Because that's what this seems like, the Instagram or the TikTok or the whatever, we'll be TikTok famous and Instagram famous and I get paid this and I get paid that for doing fuck all. That's only going to be like that again for a certain amount of time before that, fades out.
That bubble burst.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's about trying to teach your kids of, if you put in the effort or go and get a job on a Saturday or do jobs, around the house or at home or whatever, you put in the effort, you get reward.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, again, that's one of the cool things about in your position, like you're still racing and you're still getting after it. And like there's a level of work that your kids are seeing that like dad's still out there like fully having a crack. And I think it's like you're almost just leading by example in a way,
Yeah, exactly. They still give me shit like you haven't finished a race and da-da-da. And then after the last race, I said to them, well, you're only as good as your last race.
Yeah.
And they got nothing now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, you're right. It's, I suppose it's about, and you don't realise until we all get older, and it's about being that person as an example for what you've got, that you've produced yourself as a family, and being an example for those kids to try to give them the best start in life or give them the best attitudes and foundation of to be able to achieve something. And it doesn't make a difference what it is. If it's becoming a doctor or a lawyer or working at McDonald's or whatever, it doesn't make a difference. But putting that 100% effort into what you're doing and to try to be successful.
Yeah.
And that because, a lot of the time people they think they put the effort in, but they don't put the effort in. And then they go, oh, why isn't this working out for me or whatever? I'm so unlucky. That type of thing. That's, I think that's more so the generation that we're having, right at the moment. But, I think as always, as you know, if you put the effort in, you've got the best chance.
Yeah, and there's really it's not a secret.
No.
Effort in, output out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, mate, this has been fantastic.
Thanks, mate.
I'm so glad we got to do it.
Finally.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but I'm glad. I think the timing was right.
Yes, perfect.
Got the 500 win, back on the box this time.
Yeah.
And back for a crack at the 1,000 in a month's time.
We'll be back, ready to go.
Might even be there to cheer you over the finish line.
Can't wait.
But no, appreciate it. The PWR story is absolutely incredible. Hopefully, if you're in Aussie and you haven't looked into PWR too much before, go and check out the stuff that they do because it's pretty special. And then Team Australia at the Baja 1000, they're in the big old quad lock car.
That's
it. And trying to bring home the trophy for Down Under.
Nice, mate.
Well, have a safe flight home.
Thank you.
See you soon.
See you, mate.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.